Chapter 589. Qin Haodong continued, the third patient is schizophrenia. After he finished speaking, there was silence. Everyone could accept that the first two patients were healthy, but no one could believe that Kim Si-yuan, who was extremely beautiful and energetic, was schizophrenic. What's going on? Did the medical sage make a wrong diagnosis? That girl from Korea also participated in the acupuncture bronze statue competition. Apart from the medical sage, she has the best result. How could such a person be mentally ill? Wrong. Wrong. The medical sage must have made a wrong diagnosis. Such a smart and beautiful woman can't be schizophrenic. Although Qin Haodong's previous performance had won everyone's respect, his diagnosis had been widely questioned. No one believed that Kim Si-yuan, who looked extremely energetic, would be mentally ill. A smile appeared on the corner of Li Minty's mouth. She was still too young. In the end, she had fallen into his trap. Su Hongba shook his head. Although Qin Haodong was outstanding enough, his psychological quality was still lacking. It was obvious that he had fallen into Li Minty's trap. Fortunately, he had only misdiagnosed one case. On the whole, he had won Li Junqi's challenge. After seeing this result, Li Junqi, who had been defeated one after another, suddenly felt very happy. After suppressing it for a long time, he finally let out a breath of anger. He laughed and said, "What a joke! What a joke! Qin, you didn't expect that the third patient was my junior sister, did you? You actually said that she was mentally ill. My junior sister has been smart since she was a child, and her attainments in art are higher than mine. How could she be mentally ill? Your diagnosis is ridiculously wrong. How can you call yourself the medical sage of Huaxia with this kind of medical skills?" There was a flash of disappointment in Feng Wu's beautiful big eyes. She had been full of curiosity about this young man's medical skills before, but now it seemed that there was still a big gap between his level and her expectations. Although the people around him had different reactions, Qin Haodong was still calm. He turned to look at Kim Si-yuan and said, "Miss Kim, I know that the third patient is you. Do you think my diagnosis is right or wrong? Junior sister, hurry up and tell him that his diagnosis is wrong." "You are very normal and healthy," Li Junqi was shouting happily, but he found that Kim Si-yuan was looking at Qin Haodong excitedly. The expression on her face was extremely complicated. She took a few steps and came to Qin Haodong. Under the strong excitement, her lips trembled slightly. "Dr. Qin, are you sure I have schizophrenia?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course I'm sure, but your schizophrenia is indirect. If I'm not mistaken, it should occur on the 14th day of every month. But now your condition is getting worse, much worse than before." Hearing the conversation between the two of them, the commotion immediately disappeared. Everyone's faces were filled with astonishment. What does that mean? Could it be that such a beautiful woman was mentally ill? How was this possible? Could it be that Koryo sent a lunatic to participate in this exchange meeting? The smile on Li Minty's face immediately disappeared, and he revealed a stunned expression. Kim Si-yuan had been learning TKM from him since she was 8 years old. Her parents had indeed asked him to take her pulse, but there was nothing wrong with her body. In the following years, Kim Si-yuan would ask him to take her pulse once a year, but she was in good health. Her pulse was stable, and he didn't notice any problems. If she had schizophrenia, he would have found it long ago. Just as he was puzzled, Kim Si-yuan knelt down in front of Qin Haodong and said, "Dr. Qin, please save me. I really have schizophrenia. I can't stand it anymore. If it goes on like this, I will be tortured to death." Seeing this scene in front of them, the onlookers were silent at first, and then they burst into an uproar. No one had expected this to happen. Just now, the two sides were competing in medical skills and fighting for traditional Chinese medicine. But now, one side actually knelt down and asked the other side for treatment. Wasn't this turn of events a little too big? Li Junqi was stunned at first. When he came to his senses, he quickly ran over and reached out to pull Kim Si-yuan up. "Junior sister, are you crazy? Why are you kneeling down to this guy? Kim Si-yuan pushed him away and cried, "Get out of my way. Dr. Chin is right. I really have schizophrenia." She begged Qin Haodong again, "Dr. Chin, please save me. As long as you can cure my illness, I'll pay any price." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "Miss Kim, you'd better get up. I can cure your illness, but I can't cure you. This competition is only about diagnosis, not treatment, so I'm sorry. Please find someone else." "No, Dr. Chin, please don't. Please save me. No matter what you want, you must save me." Kim Si-yuan knelt in front of Qin Haodong and cried. She looked pitiful. It was the first time in more than 20 years that she had met someone who could see her illness. How could she let go of this opportunity? Alice stepped forward and said, "Medical sage, your diagnosis of all 3 cases is correct. I announce that you have won the competition. As a doctor, I don't think you should refuse your patient. Since Miss Kim has asked for treatment and you have seen her illness, you should help her relieve her pain." Qin Haodong said, "Miss Alice, I understand what you said, but the medical sage of Koryo is sitting there. You saw the purpose of their visit today. They want to show that Koryo medicine is better than traditional Chinese medicine, and even that traditional Chinese medicine is independent of Koryo medicine. In this case, do you think it's necessary for me to help?" After that, he turned to Kim Si-yuan and said, "Miss Kim, you must have made a mistake. The medical sage of Koryo is sitting there. You can go to him for treatment. It's useless. I've tried everything." Kim Si-yuan wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and said, "I've been suffering from intermittent mental illness since I was a child, but my parents didn't tell anyone because they wanted to keep it a secret. But over the years, they secretly took me to see famous hospitals all over the world. Before I was 8 years old, I had almost seen Western medicine all over the world. I even visited the World Medical Association, but there was no result. All the examinations said that I was mentally normal. Later, my parents wanted to try Koryo medicine, so they took me to my teacher's house and begged him to feel my pulse, but he didn't find out what was wrong with me." Hearing Kim Si-yuan's story, everyone looked at Li Mingte. Li Mingte suddenly felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. His face was hot as if it was on fire. Before this, he was known as the medical sage of Koryo, but he didn't expect that his apprentice couldn't find out what was wrong with her. More than 10 years had passed, and he had felt Kim Si-yuan's pulse every year, but he hadn't found anything unusual. Now he took his apprentice to challenge traditional Chinese medicine, but he was diagnosed with a disease. Was there anything more humiliating than this? At this time, Kim Si-yuan didn't care about his feelings at all. She continued, "The reason why I studied Koryo medicine is to treat myself, but after so many years of study, I still haven't found a clue. Even my teacher can't do anything about my illness, so I completely gave up on Koryo medicine. So this time, I came to Huaxia to participate in the cultural exchange. My real purpose is to try traditional Chinese medicine and see if it can cure my illness. Dr. Qin is undoubtedly the best traditional Chinese medicine practitioner in Huaxia, so I just took a place and asked Dr. Qin to diagnose me. Now it seems that what I did was right. Dr. Qin really found out my illness. After waiting for more than 20 years, I finally waited for this day. Dr. Qin, please, no one can save me except you and traditional Chinese medicine." After listening to her, the audience was in an uproar again. He can't even cure his apprentice's illness, but he dares to call himself the medical sage. The medical sage of Koryo can't be compared with the medical sage of Huaxia. It's so shameful. How dare he say that traditional Chinese medicine is learned from Koryo medicine with such a low level? The medical sage is so powerful. He even found such a difficult and complicated disease. He's simply my idol. Qin Haodong glanced at Kim Si-yuan and said, "I'm sorry, I still can't cure your illness." "Why?" 2 voices sounded at the same time. One was Kim Si-yuan, and the other was Alice. Alice said excitedly, "Mr. Medical Sage, although your medical skills are very high, you are also a doctor. As long as a patient asks you for medical treatment, you should lend a helping hand. Why do you refuse a patient? Qin Haodong said, You're right. Doctors should relieve patients' pain, but the premise is that patients should respect doctors and medical skills. The current situation is that they want to use traditional Chinese medicine to save lives, but they don't give it enough respect. They say that traditional Chinese medicine comes from Koryo medicine and that Koryo medicine is better than traditional Chinese medicine. They are ungrateful, but they want me to treat them. Do you think it's possible? Alice did want to help Kim Si-yuan, but Qin Haodong's words were reasonable, which made her speechless for a while. Kim Si-yuan quickly said, Dr. Qin, I was wrong. I apologize for my previous wrong views and statements. After seeing the breadth and depth of traditional Chinese medicine, I know how wrong I was. Now I beg you to forgive me. Qin Haodong said lightly, If you didn't ask me to save your life now, would you apologize for your mistakes? I will. An old voice sounded. It was Li Mingtai. He came to Qin Haodong and said, I wanted to challenge you after Zhang Ji lost, but now I don't have the courage and qualification to challenge you. Shi Yuan has been by my side for more than 10 years, but I haven't been able to find her illness. This is enough to show the gap between our medical skills. There is no need to compete anymore. I was a frog at the bottom of a well before. I overestimated myself and didn't see the breadth and depth of traditional Chinese medicine. I wanted to challenge traditional Chinese medicine with Koryo medicine. Now I know I was wrong, and I was very wrong. I formally apologize to you and traditional Chinese medicine. After returning to China, you should publicly withdraw my inappropriate remarks and cancel my title of medical sage. You are the real medical sage. Chapter 590. Li Mingtai's words were tantamount to directly admitting defeat to traditional Chinese medicine on behalf of TKM. After he finished speaking, the whole hall burst into cheers and shouts like thunder, almost lifting the roof. Long live! Long live traditional Chinese medicine! The medical sage is mighty. Qin Haodong glanced at Li Mingtai and felt that his words were completely from the bottom of his heart. It seemed that he was completely convinced by him. Then he looked at Kim Si-yuan, who was looking forward to it, and said, Well, I'll treat your illness. But your condition is special, so it's not convenient for you to be treated here. Come to me tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Qin. Kim Si-yuan's tears flowed down again. After so many years of waiting, she finally saw hope. Alice said, Mr. Medical Sage, if you can't treat her here, can you let us watch you on the spot? Qin Haodong said, Her condition is special. She needs to be quiet during the treatment. It's not appropriate to treat her here. Oh. Alice nodded and said, Mr. Medical Sage, I've seen the magic of traditional Chinese medicine. I really want to see you use your medical skills to treat patients and save people. Can you satisfy my wish? Dr. Qin, I also want to see your magical medical skills. After Li Mingtai finished speaking, he was afraid of causing a misunderstanding, so he quickly explained, I don't mean anything else. I just want to learn medical skills from you to make up for my shortcomings in medical skills. Qin Haodong looked at Su Hongba next to him and said, Mr. Su, I think we can choose a few cases to treat here. What do you think? In his heart, he felt that today was a rare opportunity. Alice, the president of the World Medical Association, was at the scene and was doing a live broadcast on the internet. It was a good opportunity to let the world know about traditional Chinese medicine. Of course, Su Hongba also realized this and said, No problem. I'll tell the director now and ask the outpatient department to send us a few suitable cases. Ho Wenbin had been watching from the sidelines. He was very satisfied with the performance of Shanghai Medical College today. Not only did they win the exchange meeting, but they also brought the acupuncture bronze statue and the compendium of Materia Medica back to Huaxia. This was absolutely a great achievement, and it would definitely leave a deep mark in the history of the development of Shanghai Medical College. After hearing Su Hongba's request, he immediately contacted the person in charge of the outpatient department and asked them to send a few emergency patients over. The affiliated hospital of Shanghai Medical College was one of the best hospitals in Shanghai. There were countless patients every day. Not long after the call was made, the siren of an ambulance sounded. Then, a few medical staff in white coats ran in with a stretcher, followed by an anxious middle-aged woman. Lying on the stretcher was a 3 or 4-year-old girl. Her face was ashen and she had stopped breathing. It seemed that her situation was critical. "Doctor, who is the doctor? Save my granddaughter!" The middle-aged woman shouted anxiously. She was the little girl's grandmother. She had just called the ambulance. She had no idea how the child was sent there. She looked at the people around her and didn't know what to do. The stretcher was just placed in front of Li Mingtai. He squatted down and put his hand on the little girl's wrist. Then, he quickly said, "There's a foreign object stuck in the child's trachea, causing breathing difficulties. The situation is very critical." As the president of the World Medical Association, Alice immediately realized the urgency of the situation. She hurriedly shouted, "In this case, we must have an operation to remove the foreign body. It's not suitable for treatment here. Send him to the emergency room for surgery." Li Mingtai said, "The situation is very dangerous now. It's too late to send him to the operating room." The little girl's grandmother hurriedly shouted, "What's wrong with your hospital? You didn't send my granddaughter to the operating room, but sent her here. If anything happens to my granddaughter, I will fight you to the death." Ho Wenbin's face became very ugly. He had just asked the emergency room to send a few cases over. He didn't expect that the emergency room would send such a difficult disease to them. He was also a doctor. He knew that the best treatment for the little girl's situation was surgery, but it was too late now. He was afraid that she would suffocate to death before she was sent to the operating room. Su Hongba and Fong Heluan looked at each other anxiously. This kind of disease was a shortcoming for traditional Chinese medicine, and they couldn't come up with a good solution for a while. "Don't worry, let me do it," Qin Haodong said as he stepped forward and held the little girl in his arms. Then, he sat on a chair and let the little girl lie on his lap. Alice cried, "Dr. Qin, don't waste any more time. Hurry up and send the little girl to the emergency room. Otherwise, it's really too late. The only way to treat this disease is surgery." Before she could finish speaking, Qin Haodong reached out and patted the little girl's back. Then, with a snap, a peanut sprayed out of the little girl's nostrils. Then, Qin Haodong reached out and massaged the little girl's back a few times. The little girl came back to her senses and burst into tears. "Okay, it's all right." Qin Haodong stood up and handed the little girl to her grandmother. "You must be careful when you look after the child in the future. Don't let the child breathe some small things into her nostrils." The little girl's grandmother was stunned for a moment before she came to her senses. She hurriedly thanked him and said, "Thank you, little doctor. Thank you so much. Tell me your name and phone number. When the child's father comes back, I'll ask him to thank you and send you a pennant and a bonus." She was almost crazy with joy. She had thought that her granddaughter would have to undergo surgery, but she didn't expect that she would be cured without any injury. Qin Haodong said, "No need. I'm a doctor. It's my duty to treat patients and save people." After seeing off the little girl and the middle-aged woman, there was a burst of applause. Alice said in amazement, "Dr. Qin, your medical skills are really amazing. Can you tell me how you determined the position of the little girl's foreign body and how you got it out?" She was very interested in this now. There were countless similar cases all over the world every year. Most of them could only remove the foreign body through surgery. If this technique was mastered, the treatment would become much simpler and the patient's pain would be alleviated. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "This method can only be done by traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. You can't learn it." He had just used his spirit to detect the position of the peanut, and then wrapped the peanut with genuine qi and ejected it. Not only was it fast, but it would also not cause any damage to the little girl's trachea. However, he was the only one in the world who could do this. Alice said, Mr. Medical Sage, I know that you pay attention to ancestral secret recipes, but you should take out such a good treatment and apply for a patent to benefit more people. Qin Haodong shook his head and said with a smile, it's not a matter of patent. Even if I apply for a patent, no one can use it. At this moment, another ambulance stopped at the entrance of the auditorium, and then several medical staff carried a young man in his 30s and ran. The young man's face was pale and painful, and his hands were tightly covering the right side of his lower abdomen. Li Mingte had now completely changed his attitude. He wanted to seize the time to learn more from Qin Haodong, so after seeing the case, he took the initiative to go up and put his hand on the young man's pulse. What's wrong with you? The young man said with a painful face, Doctor, I suddenly have a stomachache. About a minute later, Li Mingte took back his right hand and said with a slight regret, this is acute appendicitis. Send him to the operating room. After he finished speaking, no one else had any objection. All the people present were Chinese medicine practitioners. They were very clear about the advantages and disadvantages of Chinese medicine. If it was chronic appendicitis, they could still use Chinese medicine to treat it, but acute appendicitis could only be treated by surgery. Su Hongba waved his hand and was about to ask someone to send the young man away. Qin Haodong said, acute appendicitis can also be treated with acupuncture. After that, he went forward and felt the young man's pulse again. Then, he took out the silver needles from the needle bag. In the blink of an eye, he pierced 7 silver needles into 7 major acupoints in the lower abdomen. After the 7 silver needles were pierced, the effect was immediate. The pain on the young man's face immediately disappeared, and his complexion also looked much better. Alice asked curiously, Medical Sage, is this how you treated old Maldini's brain tumor? Is the legend true? Can acupuncture really replace surgery? Whether it's true or not, you'll know after you see it. Qin Haodong said as he asked the doctor next to him for a piece of medical cotton cloth. Then, he pierced a hollow silver needle in his hand into the young man's lower abdomen. Then, he flicked the silver needle gently, and a stream of thick black blood with a foul smell sprayed out from the heart and fell on the cotton cloth in his hand. It's all right. You can go back now. Qin Haodong said as he took back the silver needles. The young man had recovered. He jumped up from the stretcher, thanked Qin Haodong, and turned to walk out. Divine skill. It was simply a divine skill. The people around were stunned and admired Qin Haodong's medical skills to the extreme. Fang Heluan had also heard of Qin Haodong's name before, but he was inevitably a little unconvinced. He thought it was just a young man's hype. Now that Qin Haodong had cured 2 cases that he couldn't do anything about, he was completely convinced. The third patient was a construction worker who had fallen from a high place. Both of his legs had been completely broken. Li Mingte said, leave this case to me. Medical Sage, please give me some advice. He had always thought that his bone-setting skills were very good, so he quickly set the construction worker's left leg. I've reset this leg for you. You can't move it for half a month. After half a month, you can walk. After a month, you can move normally. Li Mingte said as he looked back at Qin Haodong. In his opinion, his bone-setting skills were done neatly and the effect was also good. He should be able to get the medical sage's approval. Unexpectedly, Qin Haodong shook his head and said, that's not how to set bones. The effect is too poor. After that, he reached out and grabbed the construction worker's right leg. With a pull and a push, the 2 legs were reconnected with a click. He left a green with genuine qi in the broken bone to protect it, and then said, you can try to stand up now. Don't do heavy physical work for a week. After a week, you can return to normal. Chapter 591. Is this really okay? Although the pain in his right leg had completely disappeared, the construction worker still couldn't believe it. As the old saying went, it would take 100 days to recover from an injury. How could it be healed so quickly? You'll know after you try. Qin Haodong reached out and gently pushed. The construction worker stood up from the stretcher. Although his right foot was on the ground, it was stable, as if he had not been injured. He tried to put his left leg on the ground, and there was a sudden sharp pain in his leg. The feeling of his left leg was completely different from that of his right leg. Qin Haodong asked him to sit on a chair next to him and said, "Bear with it. I'll fix this leg for you." After that, he grabbed Li Minte's left leg, which had just been fixed, and pulled it open again. The construction worker felt a sharp pain, but before he could scream, Qin Haodong had fixed his broken left leg again. "Okay, try again this time." After that, Qin Haodong asked the construction worker to stand up again. The construction worker tried to walk a few steps on the ground and found that his legs had recovered. He shouted excitedly, "It's okay, it's really okay. You're really a magic doctor. Thank you so much." Qin Haodong said, "Okay, go back. Remember to rest for a week before going back to work." After the construction worker left, Li Minte said with a sigh, "I used to think that my bone-setting skills were first class, but compared with medical sage, it's just child's play. I really admire you." Alice followed and said, "It's amazing. It's really amazing. I've never seen such magical medical skills. Chinese medicine is really amazing." It was almost noon, and Ho Wenbin no longer asked the outpatient department to send patients over. The medical exchange meeting came to a successful end. After seeing off Alice, Li Minte, and the others, Su Hongba and Zhang Heluan bowed to Qin Haodong together. Qin Haodong said in surprise, "Two old masters, what are you doing?" Su Hongba said, "Haodong, we thank you on behalf of Chinese medicine. It's definitely a great credit to the Chinese medicine community for bringing back the acupuncture bronze statue and the compendium of Materia Medica, which have been lost for many years." Zhang Heluan said, "At the same time, we also thank you for making traditional Chinese medicine shine again and become famous in the world." The two old men knew very well that if it wasn't for Qin Haodong's performance today, they wouldn't have been able to deal with the challenge from TKM. Just the acupuncture statue alone would make them lose face. After the two of them finished speaking, the audience cheered together, "Medical sage is mighty. All hail the medical sage." Although the exchange meeting had already ended, the aftermath hadn't stopped. Because of Qin Haodong's outstanding performance, the whole traditional Chinese medicine community was proud and elated, and a wave of traditional Chinese medicine fever was set off in Huaxia. After Li Minte returned, he immediately withdrew his inappropriate remarks about traditional Chinese medicine. At the same time, he formally apologized to traditional Chinese medicine. Since then, the saying that traditional Chinese medicine originated from TKM disappeared, and no one dared to mention it again. Qin Haodong became famous after that battle. All the students of the medical college knew that he was the medical sage of Jiangnan. For a time, he became the idol of thousands of students and the dream lover of countless girls. In the evening, when Qin Haodong returned home, Kim Siyuan was already waiting in front of the door as promised. Li Minte and the others had returned to Koryo, and she was the only one left in Huaxia for treatment. When she saw Qin Haodong, she immediately greeted him and asked anxiously, "Dr. Qin, can you really cure my disease?" "Don't worry, I can definitely cure it," Qin Haodong said as he let her into his room. After Kim Siyuan sat down, Qin Haodong looked at her and said, "If I'm not mistaken, there should be another soul living in your body, and it has a deep hatred for you. It wants to take over your body. Can you tell me the specific reason?" "Yes. That's right. Dr. Qin, you're right," Kim Siyuan said excitedly. "When my mother was pregnant with me, she was actually a pair of twin sisters, but they were conjoined babies when they were born, and they were not fully developed, sharing the same heart. The doctor said that only one of us could survive. In the end, my mother chose to keep me. I don't know whether it was the older or younger sister, but the baby died after the operation. Because of this, she had a lot of resentment in her heart. After her death, she didn't reincarnate, but stayed in my body. Every day on the day of the operation, that is, on the 14th of every month, she always tried to take over my body. So every day on the 14th, I would go crazy. I was crazy to destroy everything in front of me, and even hurt my own body. My parents didn't know the reason. They took me to see a lot of doctors, but it didn't work. Later, they slowly found a pattern. Every 14th, they would tie me up and let me out when I was back to normal. When I was a little older, I became sensible and told them about the situation in my body, but my parents had no choice. In that case, they had to make a choice. Later, they found many monks and Taoists, trying to release the soul in my body, but it didn't work. Later, they also saw a lot of traditional Chinese medicine, but it still didn't work. Kim Si-yuan said with a painful expression, and as time goes by, the soul in my body is getting stronger and stronger. It used to occupy my body for 2 or 3 hours, but now it's getting longer and longer. It's almost a day. I feel that if it goes on like this, sooner or later she will completely occupy my body and turn me into a real lunatic. Dr. Qin, please save me. I'm in so much pain now. This is also her fate. She can't blame anyone else, Qin Haodong said, don't worry. Now I'm going to get her out of your body. Kim Si-yuan said, Dr. Qin, in fact, she is also a poor person. If possible, it's best to send her to reincarnation. Don't hurt her, okay? Qin Haodong said, after so many years, she still refuses to leave. It can be seen that the resentment in her heart is great. I'll talk to her later and see the specific situation. Kim Si-yuan nodded and said, please, Dr. Qin. Qin Haodong asked her to sit cross-legged on the bed. Then, he took out the silver needles and pierced them into the big acupoints on the top of her head one by one. When the 7th silver needle was pierced, suddenly a wisp of black chi rose from the top of Kim Si-yuan's head and finally turned into the appearance of a little girl. It was vaguely visible that her appearance was very similar to Kim Si-yuan, but her expression was very fierce. The little girl looked around, as if she was very curious about how she came out. Finally, she saw Qin Haodong next to her and said, who are you? What are you doing? Qin Haodong said, people have their own ways. You have been dead for so many years. Why don't you let go of the obsession in your heart? If you were reincarnated, you would be about 20 years old now. Hearing what he said, the little girl immediately shouted with a violent expression, why should I be the one who died? Why are they so partial? We are both their daughters. If they had chosen me, I would have been able to survive. Why did they choose this woman? Qin Haodong said, if they had chosen you, then she would have been the one to die. Life and death are predestined. You were originally twin sisters. Why are you so persistent? I don't care. Don't meddle in other people's business. Since I can't live, then I want her to die. After saying that, the little girl turned around and rushed to Kim Si-yuan, trying to return to her body. Stubborn. Qin Haodong flicked his finger and a silver needle went into Kim Si-yuan's brain. After trying several times, the little girl was surprised to find that she couldn't go back. How dare you ruin my plan? I'll kill you. After that, she rushed at Qin Haodong with her fangs and claws, as if she wanted to take over his body. Qin Haodong waved his hand and the yin-yang mirror flew out. A golden beam of light fixed the little girl in the air. The little girl struggled desperately, but found that she couldn't get rid of the light beam at all. Only then did she know that she had met a master. She cried in horror, Master, please spare my life. Please spare my life. Qin Haodong said, I'll give you 2 choices. First, let go of your obsession and reincarnate. Second, let go of your soul. I choose to be reborn. I choose to be reborn. Under heavy pressure, the little girl immediately gave up the hatred in her heart. Find a good family in your next life. Go. Qin Haodong made a spell and the little girl was sucked into the yin-yang mirror and reincarnated. After getting rid of the resentful spirit, Qin Haodong took out the silver needle on the top of Kim Si-yuan's head. She slowly opened her eyes and felt unprecedentedly relaxed. Dr. Qin, is the problem solved? Qin Haodong nodded. How is she? Kim Si-yuan asked with a complicated expression. She had an indescribable feeling for the resentful spirit in her body, which was both resentment and guilt. Qin Haodong said, "She has been reincarnated." "Thank you, Dr. Qin." Kim Si-yuan breathed a sigh of relief. She took out a check with a face value of 1 million yuan and handed it over respectfully. "This is the consultation fee." "Thank you. Without you, I really don't know how long I could have lasted." Qin Haodong didn't stand on ceremony. He took the check and put it aside. Kim Si-yuan said, "Dr. Qin, I see the breadth and depth of traditional Chinese medicine from you. Can I worship you as my teacher?" Qin Haodong said, "How much do you know about Huaxia culture?" Kim Si-yuan said, "Because of studying medicine, I know a lot about Huaxia culture. If you are willing to accept me as your disciple, I will not let you down." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "That's not what I mean. I just want to ask you, have you heard of any famous Huaxia stories?" Kim Si-yuan said curiously, "I know a lot." "Which one are you talking about?" Qin Haodong said, "Mr. Donghua and the wolf, the farmer and the snake, traditional Chinese medicine and Korean medicine." Kim Si-yuan looked ashamed. She lowered her head and said, "I'm sorry, Dr. Qin. I apologize again for my previous stupid behavior." Qin Haodong said, "I'm just doing my duty as a doctor to treat you. Our fate ends here. You can go now." Of course, he wouldn't let go of the past just because of an apology. Today, traditional Chinese medicine was under his control, so they would apologize. If one day, Korean medicine surpassed traditional Chinese medicine, then the story of the farmer and the snake would be played again. Kim Si-yuan also knew that she couldn't go back on her words. She bowed respectfully and then left. Chapter 592. After Kim Si-yuan left, Qin Haodong took the little fellow to the basement to refine elixirs. He had brought back so much spirit water from Shenbao Mountain in the capital, but he hadn't had time to use it yet. The father and the daughter were busy. Half an hour later, the basement was filled with the fragrance of elixirs. Qin Haodong patted the Shenong tripod gently, and 9 black energy-gathering pills flew out and fell into the small jade bottle in his hand as if they had intelligence. Qin Haodong glanced at the elixirs in the bottle and couldn't help but be overjoyed. He saw that each elixir had 3 dazzling patterns. The higher the level of elixir, the more difficult it was to refine patterns. The energy-gathering pill he had refined before was barely formed, but now there were 3 patterns. It was the same energy-gathering pill, but the effect was several times worse. It could be seen that the spirit water played a great role in improving elixirs. He was overjoyed and got busy again. A furnace of energy-gathering pills and spirit-culturing pills was put into the jade bottle. At 8:00 in the evening, Qin Haodong walked out of the basement with the little fellow happily. In the past few hours, he had refined 3 furnaces of energy-gathering pills and 10 furnaces of spirit-culturing pills. This trip to the imperial capital had greatly stimulated him. Facing the experts of the 7 great clans that were as numerous as the clouds, his current foundation was still a lot weaker. But these pills could allow him to quickly increase the cultivation of his subordinates and quickly strengthen his own team. The little fellow ran to the living room to watch TV. He looked around and saw that there was no one around, so he quietly went to Lin Momo's room. Seeing him enter the door, Lin Momo said, "What are you doing? You're acting like a thief." Qin Haodong stepped forward and held her in his arms. He kissed her hard and said, "I know. I'm obviously dating my wife at home, but I'm acting like a thief. I'm really tired of this kind of life. I don't know when this damn bodyguard task will end." Under the attack of his 2 big hands, Lin Momo's face turned red and her breathing became heavy. "Don't be ridiculous. Even without Li Meiyu, I still have my daughter." Qin Haodong said with a monkey's face, "Why don't we go out and get a room?" Lin Momo pushed him away and said, "Lin's jewelry has just opened recently, and we've taken over a lot of Zhang's businesses. I've been so busy all day. Do you think I'm like you? I only know how to hook up with girls when I have nothing better to do." Where would I find the time to get a room with you? I can't even hook up with you, how would I have time to hook up with others? I'm busy with business. Chin Haodong kissed her red lips again. Then he took out an energy-gathering pill that he had just refined and said, I specially refined this for you. What do you think of its effect? Lin Momo took it and asked, what medicine is this? Energy-gathering pill, but this is an enhanced version refined with the spiritual water of the spirit spring. The effect is much better than before. Try it and see if you can go further. Oh. I'll give it a try. Since she embarked on the road of cultivation, Lin Momo also realized the importance of cultivation for a warrior. She sat cross-legged and put the energy-gathering pill into her mouth. Lin Momo had eaten a lot of energy-gathering pills before, but she immediately felt different after eating the enhanced version. The genuine qi in her dantian was like erupting magma, rushing to her limbs. She quickly focused her mind and ran her genuine qi wholeheartedly, rushing to the bottleneck of the 4th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Chin Haodong guarded the door to prevent others from coming in and disturbing her. Then, he quietly observed the changes in Lin Momo. About half an hour later, he felt that Lin Momo's momentum suddenly rose, more than twice as much as when she was at the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm before. He even clearly felt that Lin Momo had broken through the bottleneck of the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm and reached the 4th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Haodong, I've broken through. Lin Momo opened her eyes and said with a happy face, the effect of your pill is really good. I've improved by 1 level after taking it. Chin Haodong was also very happy to find that the enhanced version of energy-gathering pill was so effective. He happily took out a jade bottle and stuffed it into her hand. Well, you can eat more. This pill is made by our family. You can eat as much as you want. When you can reach the Saint Realm, I can live off a woman with peace of mind. Having verified the efficacy of the enhanced version of the pill, Chin Haodong left Lin Momo's room and began to distribute the pills to his family. He first gave some enhanced spirit culturing pills to Nalan Wushuang, Qi Wan, and the Divine Mercenaries. Then, he asked Saber to take the pills to Ma Wenjua. After everything was arranged, he drove out of the house, took out his mobile phone, and dialed Nalan Wuxia's number. He had the pills for other people, but he had to give the girl who went to Shanghai for him a share. After the phone was connected, he said, Where are you now? I'll go and see you. I'm at the criminal police unit. There was a hint of exhaustion in Nalan Wuxia's voice. It's so late. Why haven't you gotten off work yet? Are you on duty today? Chin Haodong said as he drove straight to the criminal police unit in the Dongqing district. Nalan Wuxia said, I'm not on duty. I'm working overtime. I've worked overtime several times recently. What happened? Chin Haodong said, Is it convenient for you now? I'll go and see you. Nalan Wuxia said, It's a long story. Come over now. I'll wait for you at work. Let's talk when we meet. Okay, I'll be right there. Chin Haodong hung up the phone and drove at full speed toward the criminal police unit. In the villa of the Sun family, the black-robed man pointed at the nose of Sun Xingtian, the family master, and was furious. The people sent by the sect master will arrive in Shanghai at midnight today. You still haven't gathered the number of children. What's wrong with your Sun family? In front of the black-robed man, Sun Xingtian didn't have the power of a family master at all. He lowered his head and said, Your Excellency, don't be angry. It's because the sect master has too many children. Recently, we've stolen 18 children from Shanghai, which has caused a lot of repercussions. Now everyone is watching the children closely. It's really difficult to take them, so we still need 2 more. The black-robed man said with killing intent, Sun Xingtian, how dare you be dissatisfied with the sect master? Don't forget who gave you everything in the Sun family. And don't forget what will happen if you disobey the sect master's order. Sun Xingtian's face was full of fear. He quickly said, I dare not. I dare not. The black-robed man glanced at the clock on the wall and said without any emotion, there are still 3 hours before midnight. I don't care how you do it. You have to gather the number of children, even if you have to rob them. Otherwise, there's no need for the Sun family to exist. Sun Xingtian said, "Rest assured, Your Excellency. I'll arrange someone to do it." The black-robed man's tone softened a little and he said, "Do it well. As long as you do it to the sect master's satisfaction, the masters of the sect will naturally help you kill that boy. It won't be difficult for the Sun family to become the top family in Shanghai." Qin Haodong drove to the criminal police unit in Dongqing district and found that it was brightly lit. Nalan Wuxia was not the only one working overtime. No one had gotten off work. He opened the door of the office and saw Nalan Wuxia sitting at the desk, staring at the computer screen in front of her. He asked, "What's going on? Why are you so nervous?" Nalan Wuxia stretched herself and said with a tired face, "You don't know, there have been many cases of missing children in Shanghai recently. Our criminal police unit in Dongqing district is not the only one working overtime. The entire Shanghai Public Security Bureau is working overtime." Qin Haodong walked behind her, reached out and massaged her shoulders. He asked, "Child thieves? How come there are so many of them all of a sudden? I don't know why, but these damn human traffickers may have gone crazy recently. They've gone crazy and have stolen 18 children. I really don't know what they're going to do." Nalan Wuxia pointed to the computer screen, which was filled with the information of each child. These children were about 3 to 5 years old, and they seemed to be about the same age as Tang Tang. "I'm comparing the information of these missing children to see if there's anything in common." Qin Haodong said, "They've committed so many crimes in a row. Didn't they leave any clues?" Nalan Wuxia said, "That's the strange thing. These child thieves are very clever. Not only do they do it quietly, but they also leave no clues at the scene. Some parents even find out that their children are missing a few hours later. And these people are very bold. Now the whole Shanghai is in a state of high pressure. All the police are investigating this case, but they still commit crimes against the wind. They don't mean to stop at all." Qin Haodong said, "I don't think they're ordinary human traffickers. There should be another reason behind it." Nalan Wuxia said, "We think so too. They've committed so many crimes without leaving any clues or being discovered. They're just like martial arts masters." Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat and he said, "Now that you mention it, I also remember that maybe these people are really masters. Have you ever thought that maybe it was some evil gangs who committed the crime? They stole the children not to sell them, but for other purposes. You really remind me. We should adjust the direction of the investigation." As the two of them were talking, the door opened and a young policeman ran in. "Captain Nalan, there's just been another case of missing children in Dongqing district. But this time, the children were not stolen, but robbed. These damn people are really getting more and more rampant. They've changed from stealing to robbing." Nalan Wuxia suddenly stood up and said, "Tell me the specific situation." The young policeman said, "We just received a report that a child's mother was suddenly knocked out, and then the child was taken away. Did you see what it looked like?" The young policeman said, "I didn't see it. There was no one on the side of the road. The child's mother was knocked out from behind. But the characteristics of the child are very clear. She's a 4-year-old girl with long hair, wearing a white dress and red shoes." Nalan Wuxia said to the young policeman, "Get the car ready. We'll go to the scene right away." Chapter 593. After receiving Nalan Wuxia's order, the policeman hurried out to prepare the car. Qin Haodong said, "Do you want me to help you?" "No, I'll find you if I need help." While speaking, Nalan Wuxia hurriedly put on her coat. Qin Haodong also knew that he could only help in the interrogation. Now there was no suspect, so it was useless for him to go. The police were the best at solving cases. He took out a small jade bottle and put it in Nalan Wuxia's hand. "This is my latest energy-gathering elixir. It's very effective for improving cultivation." "Thank you." Nalan Wuxia put away the small jade bottle, turned back and gave Qin Haodong a kiss. Then she hurried out. Seeing several police cars roaring away, Qin Haodong also got in his Range Rover and drove slowly out of the criminal police unit. He didn't expect that Nalan Wuxia would be busy so soon. She came back much earlier than planned, so he was not in a hurry. He drove slowly and enjoyed the night view of Shanghai while walking. After walking for a while, a car suddenly roared past him, driving forward at high speed. It was a Mercedes-Benz business car without a license plate. The glass was covered with a thick solar film. Ordinary people couldn't see the situation inside the car at all, but Qin Haodong could. At the moment when the two cars passed each other, his keen eyes and powerful spirit had already seen the situation inside the car clearly. There were 4 men in black sitting in the car. These people's eyes and aura were cold, as if they had no feelings. In the back seat, there was a little girl of 3 or 4 years old. She seemed to be asleep and lying there motionless. Qin Haodong suddenly realized that something was wrong. The little girl had long hair, wore a white dress and red shoes, which matched the characteristics of the child who had just been stolen. He raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that things would be so coincidental that he would meet the robbers that Nalan Wuxia couldn't find. Since he had encountered such a heartless thing, he couldn't ignore it. However, he didn't drive directly, but followed them from a distance. In that instant, he could tell that the 4 men in black were death warriors. Even if he stopped the car now, he wouldn't be able to interrogate the mastermind behind it. He wouldn't even be able to keep them alive. At that time, it would be even more impossible to find the 18 children who had been stolen. Therefore, he followed them patiently. He wanted to find the nest of these people and rescue the other children who had been stolen. Due to the existence of his primordial spirit, he maintained a sufficient distance from the car in front of him. Those people did not notice that someone was following them. After circling around the Shanghai city for more than half a circle, they drove out of the city and finally saw a huge manor. Qin Haodong couldn't help but feel cold. He was very familiar with this manor. He had just brought people to smash it a few days ago. It was the manor of the Sun family. Could it be that the kidnappers were from the Sun family? As the #1 aristocratic family, why would the Sun family steal a child? One thing was certain, it was definitely not for the money. He chose a quiet place to hide the car, then got out of the car and sneaked into the Sun family's manor. There were 8 bodyguards guarding the door of the Sun family, and the other positions were also heavily guarded. However, these were useless to Qin Haodong and would not pose any obstacle. He jumped over the high wall and directly entered the courtyard of the Sun family. The moment his feet landed, a faint sense of crisis rose from the bottom of his heart. Qin Haodong hid his body in the dark and wondered, what's going on? Who could make me instinctively feel danger? Normally, the 3 friends of Sui Han had the highest cultivation in the Sun family. These 3 people were only at the 2nd level of the supreme power realm. Even if they fought together, they would not be a match for him. The source of the crisis was definitely not them. It should be another master. Thinking of this, he took out an invisible talisman and completely covered up his aura. Then, he quickly moved into the Sun family's manor. After returning from the capital, he had refined more than a dozen invisible talismans. He carried them with him and did not know when he would be able to use them. As he became more proficient, the newly refined invisible talismans were much more effective than before. They could guarantee that he would not be discovered for 10 minutes. There was a small square in the middle of the Sun family's manor, with an area of about 200 to 300 square meters. When Qin Haodong arrived, the square was already filled with dozens of men in black. These people were divided into 2 camps. One was the men of sacrifice trained by the Sun family, while the other had strange patterns printed on their clothes and exuded a strange aura. It was obvious that they were from an evil sect. However, the cultivation of these people was generally much higher than that of the men of sacrifice of the Sun family. They had all reached the level of covert power. In the middle of the square stood the patriarch of the Sun family, Sun Xingtian, and a black-clothed man completely covered in a robe. In front of them were 20 large iron cages, and in each cage was a child. These children were generally 4 or 5 years old. Including the little girl that Qin Haodong had just seen, there were 20 boys and 10 girls in total. These children were sitting in the cages and sleeping. It seemed that they had been drugged or something like that. Sun Xingtian said to the man in black, "Your Excellency, the 20 children have been gathered. Are you satisfied with them?" The man's black robe shook and he nodded with satisfaction. "Well done. The Lord will reward you." "Thank you, Your Excellency." Sun Xingtian said, "But we've made too much noise this time. We'd better send these children away as soon as possible." The man in black said, "Don't worry. According to the agreed time, the people sent by the Lord will arrive. Then they can take these children away." Seeing this, Qin Haodong had almost guessed it. This man in black should be from an evil sect. The Sun family was cooperating with them. These children were stolen by the Sun family and given to this evil sect. The cultivation of this man in black was at the 3rd level of the supreme power realm. If he attacked with the Xian Yuan sword, he could kill him on the spot. After killing him, there was nothing to worry about. But for some reason, the sense of crisis still lingered in his heart. It could be seen that there were other masters hiding around. Because of this, he did not act rashly. When he was hesitating whether to send a message to Nalan Wuxia, a cold voice suddenly sounded in the air. "Sun Xingtian, as the top aristocratic family in Shanghai, you actually colluded with the remnants of the evil sect and harmed these innocent children. Today is the day you die." After the voice sounded, a graceful figure of a woman appeared in front of Sun Xingtian and the black-robed man. This woman was wearing a spotless white dress, which looked particularly conspicuous in the night. Her long hair was tied behind her head and she carried a long sword on her back. She looked like a heroine walking out of a martial arts drama. Her holy temperament was like a female bodhisattva. Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. This woman was the first campus belle of Shanghai Medical College, Feng Wu. Sun Xingtian was shocked and then shouted, "Who are you?" Feng Wu said coldly, "It doesn't matter who I am. Your Sun family helped the evildoer and from today on, your name will be removed from Shanghai. Little girl, you're too arrogant." With the black-robed man by his side, Sun Xingtian seemed to feel confident. He waved to his men next to him and said, "Kill her." As soon as he gave the order, the black-robed men rushed toward Feng Wu with their weapons in their hands. "You're courting death." Feng Wu shouted coldly and waved her sleeves casually. A strong force swept out and those black-robed men of sacrifice were suddenly swept away like fallen leaves in the wind. They fell to the ground one by one and spat out mouthfuls of blood. "Evil remnants of the devil cult, go to hell." Feng Wu shouted coldly again. Then the long sword on her back seemed to have a life of its own. It bounced out and fell into her hand with a ding. This was a golden long sword. It looked a little smaller than the Xian Yuan sword, but the sharp sword light was very similar. Feng Wu shook her wrist and the long sword turned into a golden light and stabbed at the black-robed man's chest. The attack of a level 8 Supreme Power Master was naturally extraordinary. After this sword stabbed out, the surrounding air seemed to be frozen and the sharp sword chi made people breathless. The black-robed man only had the strength of a level 3 Supreme Power Master. He had no ability to resist at all and was about to die on the spot. At this moment, a silver light like a full moon cut through the night sky. It flew over like a meteor and hit the golden sword that Feng Wu had stabbed out. With a crisp clang, the golden sword was knocked away by the full moon and the black-robed man survived. Qin Haodong's sharp eyes had already seen that the full moon was a round scimitar. This scimitar was made in a strange shape and it was a boomerang. After knocking away Feng Wu's golden sword, it flew back and fell into the hands of a young man in his 30s. "Ha ha ha, we just wanted to catch the big fish of the Zihang Sword House. We actually caught the young sword master of the Zihang Sword House." The young man reached out to catch the scimitar that flew back as he spoke. In his other hand, there was also a similar scimitar. It seemed that it was his weapon. And beside the young man stood a coquettish woman. This woman was quite beautiful, but she was too flirtatious. Her revealing clothes could not hide her plump figure at all, and her pair of phoenix eyes seemed to be able to steal people's souls at any time. Sister Feng Wu, I really didn't expect to meet you here. I'm also very surprised. The woman's voice was so charming that it made people's imagination run wild. After seeing the two people, Qin Haodong's pupils suddenly shrank. These two guys seemed to be laughing, but in fact, they had already reached the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. They were the ones who had brought the sense of crisis just now. These two people had been hiding in the dark. It seemed that they had predicted that someone would come. Feng Wu's expression finally changed a little. Obviously, the appearance of these two people had surprised her. She said, "Bai Rui, Zhou Changkong, the left and right protectors of the Hehuan sect, what are you doing here?" Bai Rui said in a charming voice, "Sister Feng Wu, you're the one who said that. The Sun family is the property of our Hehuan sect in the secular world. Why can't we come here?" Chapter 594. Zhou Changkong glanced at Feng Wu greedily and said with a sinister smile, "I've long felt that the people of the Zihang Sword House are secretly watching us, so I came to Shanghai this time to collect new followers for our Hehuan sect and replenish fresh blood. The other is to lure out the people of the Zihang Sword House, but I didn't expect to catch you, the young sword master." Feng Wu frowned. It turned out that the Sun family stealing these children was a trap set by the Hehuan sect for her. Qin Haodong was also secretly glad that he had not rushed out rashly just now. Otherwise, he would have been eaten up by the two level 8 Supreme Power Masters. Bai Rui swayed her sexy body and took 2 steps forward. She said in a sweet voice, "Sister Feng Wu, I think you're pretty. Why don't you come to our Hehuan sect? This is the paradise on earth. At that time, I promise you can find a handsome partner for dual cultivation and live happily for the rest of your life. Why do you have to stay in a place like the Zihang Sword House? There's not even a man there. There's no fun at all." Feng Wu said angrily, "Don't talk nonsense. Today, I'm going to kill the demons and get rid of you two scourges for the sake of the world." Bai Rui smiled and said, "Sister Feng Wu, you're so beautiful. Why do you always fight and kill?" Zhou Changkong sneered and said, "Feng Wu, don't think that we don't know your background. Although you're known as a genius of the Zihang Sword House, you're still too young. You're only at the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm now. You're at the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm, and so are we. How can you fight against us? Go to hell." Feng Wu knew very well that since she had fallen into the trap today, she had no choice but to kill her way out. She turned her wrist, and the golden sword in her hand turned into a cold light, directly stabbing at Bai Rui's heart. This golden sword was called the Leimu sword, and it was the treasure of the Zihang Sword House. Bai Rui knew how powerful the Leimu sword was. She stopped smiling, pulled off the pink ribbon from her body, and turned into a long rainbow to meet it. This silk ribbon of hers was also a treasure. She didn't know what material it was made of, but it was extremely tough under the infusion of genuine qi. At the same time, it didn't suffer any force at all. Not only was it not cut off by the Leimu sword, on the contrary, it locked the edge of the sword. At the same time, Zhou Changkong made his move as well. With a shake of his right hand, the boomerang blade whizzed out and headed straight for Feng Wu's face. The long sword in Feng Wu's hand was locked by the ribbon. She tilted her body slightly to the side, dodging the boomerang knife. However, the boomerang knife was really strange. After flying for a short distance, it turned around and flew back, aiming for Feng Wu's neck. Feng Wu infused her genuine qi and rotated her wrist. The Leimu sword shook off the ribbon in Bai Rui's hand. Then she turned around and chopped at the boomerang. Her sword was a precious sword. As long as it hit the boomerang knife, it could be cut into 2 halves. However, the boomerang knife seemed to have a mind of its own. It slid away from one side of the blade and dodged it. At the same time, the other boomerang knife whizzed out and rushed toward Feng Wu's chest. Bai Rui also made a move again. The ribbon in her hand directly rolled up Feng Wu's feet. She and Zhou Changkong practiced the double cultivation method, so they cooperated very well. They attacked and defended well. Moreover, both of them used strange weapons, which made it impossible for others to defend against them. Feng Wu's cultivation had reached the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. If she fought alone, she would even be a little stronger than Bai Rui and Zhou Changkong. However, it was 1 against 2 now. Moreover, the two of them were good at joint attacks, so their combat effectiveness was much higher than that of the other two. Under such circumstances, she was suddenly at a disadvantage. Although her life was not in danger for the time being because of the sharpness of the Leimu sword, she was still forced to retreat and was surrounded by danger. After fighting for more than 10 minutes, Feng Wu's genuine qi was consumed more and more. When she was not paying attention, Zhou Changkong's boomerang knife cut a line of blood on her left shoulder. Fortunately, she dodged in time. This time, it was only a superficial wound. Her muscles and bones were not hurt. Bai Rui smiled and said, "Sister Feng Wu, why did you do this? Such a good skin was cut. I feel sorry for you. Hurry up and join our Hehuan sect. How nice it would be if we could all be happy." Zhou Changkong succeeded in one move. He smiled proudly and said, "Yes, as long as you join our Hehuan sect, I can be your guide. I guarantee that your first time will be comfortable. You won't feel any pain at all. Shameless people, go to hell." Feng Wu was furious. She waved the Leimu's sword up and down in her hand and barely managed to turn the tide. However, her anger was only temporary. It could not change the comparison of strength. As time went by, Zhou Changkong's boomerang knife cut a line of blood on her right buttocks. At the same time, her white dress was cut open. Bai Rui and Zhou Changkong not only cooperated well, but they were also experienced and knew how to distract their opponents. Zhou Changkong smiled lewdly and said, "I didn't expect the young master of the Zihang sword house to have such a white butt. If I could touch it, it would be worth it even if I died." Bai Rui also giggled and said, "Sister Feng Wu, such a good butt was cut. I feel sorry for you. If other men saw it, they would feel sorry for you." Feng Wu was so angry that she almost went crazy. However, she lost control of her mind and her moves became more and more chaotic. The situation became more and more passive. Not only did she not have any chance to win, but it was also extremely difficult for her to escape. Qin Haodong used another invisibility talisman and watched anxiously. He wanted to help, but the three of them were all at the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. With his cultivation of the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm, even if he helped, he would not be of much help. He would be killed in a few moves. If he wanted to help Feng Wu, he could only secretly wait for an opportunity. He had to wait for Bai Rui and Zhou Changkong to relax their vigilance. There was only one chance. If he missed, it would be completely over. After fighting for another 5 or 6 minutes, Feng Wu's body was cut a few more times. She was now in a dangerous situation and had no time to stop the bleeding. The large amount of blood made her pale and dizzy. Seeing that the two protectors of his sect had won, Sun Xingtian breathed a sigh of relief. If the news of today's fight was spread by Feng Wu, the Sun family would really be finished. Bai Rui and Zhou Changkong looked proud. At this time, they had already won. Whether they killed or captured Feng Wu alive, they would make a great contribution to the Hehuan sect and would definitely be rewarded. However, the two of them were extremely experienced and were not in a hurry to take action. They knew how terrible the dying strike of a level 8 Supreme Power Realm Master was. Even if they did not die, they would be seriously injured. They blocked all of Feng Wu's escape routes and continued to wear down her strength. Bai Rui smiled again and said, "Sister Feng Wu, why did you do this? You've ruined such a good skin. With your appearance and figure, if you come to our Hehuan sect, there will be countless strong men lining up to pamper you. At that time, you will know how happy it is to be a woman. B*TCH, I'll kill you. Feng Wu was also very smart. At this time, she had already seen through their intentions. The Leimu's sword in her hand glowed with golden light and stabbed at Bai Rui's heart with all her strength. She did not care about the two boomerangs behind her. Bai Ruyu was shocked. She did not expect that Feng Wu would use a fighting method so soon. In the face of the murderous Leimu's sword, she did not dare to be careless. She waved the ribbon in her hand and wrapped it. Seeing the situation in front of him, Qin Haodong was delighted. The opportunity he had been waiting for a long time had finally come. He first locked the two boomerangs with his primordial spirit, and then put them into the divine ring with a thought. Then he controlled the Xianyuan sword to hide in the thousands of golden lights released by the Leimu's sword and shot at Bai Rui's chest. Because the sword light released by Feng Wu was too bright and Qin Haodong was always invisible, Bai Rui did not notice that there was a sword in the sword light. The Xianyuan sword and the Leimu's sword, the two swords, stabbed at Bai Rui's heart together. But at this moment, a strange scene happened. After the addition of the Xianyuan sword, the Leimu's sword unexpectedly made an excited cry, as if attracted by a magnet. The two swords banged together and merged into a huge golden sword. Then the sword light shone brightly, more than 10 times stronger than before. Qin Haodong was stunned. He did not know how the two swords could be combined into one. Bai Rui was controlling the pink ribbon in her hand to resist the Leimu's sword. The ribbon in her hand was also a treasure spiritual weapon called 10 meters Mortal World, which was made of the silk of exotic silkworms. In the fight just now, she had tested it many times. The 10 meters Mortal World was enough to block the Leimu's sword in Feng Wu's hand, so she was full of confidence this time. But she never dreamed that the Xianyuan sword would appear out of nowhere, and it was even combined with the Leimu's sword. Its power was more than 10 times stronger than before. The 10 feet of Mortal World in her hand couldn't block the sword at all and was directly split into 2 pieces. When she found it, it was too late to hide. The sword light all over the sky gathered together and finally disappeared into her chest. Ah! Bai Rui let out a shrill scream. A fist-sized bloody hole was directly cut in her towering chest. Even her heart was crushed into powder by the fierce sword qi. Even though she was a level 8 supreme power master, she could not survive. Zhou Changkong and Bai Rui used the joint attack technique and were controlling the two boomerangs to attack Feng Wu. But they did not expect that the saber would suddenly disappear, as if it had never appeared. What's going on? Where is my saber? He was shocked and looked around for his boomerangs, but he did not find them. Instead, he saw Bai Rui killed by a sword. Rui. Seeing that Bai Rui was dead, he cried out in pain. Although the two looked young, they were actually over 60 years old. They had been cultivating together for more than 40 years. Seeing that their companion was dead, they were immediately heartbroken. After killing Bai Rui, Qin Haodong found that the big sword was still listening to his command. He did not stop and directly control the flying sword to cut Zhou Changkong's head. Zhou Changkong's cultivation was based on the two boomerangs. At this time, without the weapons, his cultivation was greatly reduced. In a daze, he was cut in half by the sword. Blood spurted out, and his body fell to the ground. Chapter 595. The moment the Xianyuan sword appeared, Feng Wu felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She gave up controlling the Leimu's sword and stood there like a wax statue, muttering, "The Xianyuan sword." The Xianyuan sword finally appeared. After killing Zhou Changkong, Qin Haodong turned around and saw that Feng Wu was still in a daze. He hurriedly shouted, "Don't just stand there. Hurry up." Only then did Feng Wu come to her senses. She stretched out her hand and the Leimu's sword flew back to her hand with a sound. Then she slashed at the black-robed man. However, she had missed the best time to take action while she was in a daze. The black-robed man turned into a cloud of black mist and quickly drifted away. Soon, he disappeared in the night sky without a trace. Feng Wu felt that it was a pity. She directly turned the Leimu sword in her hand to the disciples of the Acacia sect next to her. These people only had the cultivation of covert power. They had no ability to resist in front of a level 8 Supreme Power Master. In the blink of an eye, they were all killed. Qin Haodong did not stay idle either. He put all the men of sacrifice of the Sun family to the ground. Sun Xingtian had been standing aside and watching the battle. In his opinion, the outcome was already decided when the two protectors took action. No one expected that Qin Haodong would appear out of nowhere and kill the two protectors in an instant. The black-robed man ran away faster than a rabbit, leaving him alone here. Looking at the dead and injured people of the Acacia sect and the men of sacrifice of the Sun family lying on the ground, he was so scared that he fell to the ground. He no longer had the prestige of the former master of the Sun family. Now, he knew that the situation was over and the Sun family was completely finished. After killing all these people, Feng Wu directly came to Qin Haodong and said respectfully, "Feng Wu greets the sacred master." Qin Haodong was startled. He looked back and found no one else around him. He hurriedly said, "Senior Feng Wu, are you okay?" "You're wrong. How could I be the sacred master?" While speaking, he looked at Feng Wu and thought to himself, she didn't hurt her head just now. Why did she start talking nonsense? Feng Wu said, "Sacred master, Feng Wu is not wrong. The one who holds the Xianyuan sword house is the sacred master of the Zihang sword house." Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. After confirming that Feng Wu was not joking, he asked, "Sister Feng Wu, do you know this sword?" Feng Wu said, "Since the Xianyuan sword is the sacred lord's sword, Feng Wu certainly knows it. The sacred lord's sword and the Leimu sword in my hand are a pair. Even if I'm wrong, the Leimu sword won't be wrong." "Well," Qin Haodong said, "the Xianyuan sword is the sacred master of the Leimu sword house." Feng Wu said, "The holy sword has a spirit. Since the Xianyuan sword recognizes you as its master, you are the sacred master of the Zihang sword house." What's going on?" Just as Qin Haodong was about to clarify the matter, a burst of sirens rang out. Dozens of police cars rushed in from outside, and then countless policemen jumped out of the cars and surrounded the place. The leader was Dong Bicheng, the director of the Shanghai Public Security Bureau. Behind him were Nailan Wuxia and the captains of the crime squad of several other districts. Dong Bicheng looked at the blood and corpses on the ground. He came to Qin Haodong and asked seriously, "Little Qin, what's going on?" Before Qin Haodong could speak, Feng Wu took out a sign and handed it to Dong Bicheng. "Come with me." Dong Bicheng's expression changed drastically when he saw the sign. He followed Feng Wu to a quiet corner. Nailan Wuxia came to Qin Haodong and asked with concern, "Are you all right?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I'm fine. You guys came pretty fast." It turned out that Qin Haodong had sent a message to Nailan Wuxia before he took action, telling her that the missing children were in the Sun family and asking her to bring enough people. Nailan Wuxia looked at the tragic scene and said, "What's going on? Why did the Sun family steal so many children?" Qin Haodong said, "I heard that it has something to do with an evil sect called the Hehuan sect, and the Sun family is a secular force supported by the Hehuan sect. They help them do evil things. I don't know much about the details, but this time the Sun family is really finished." At this time, Feng Wu had finished explaining things to Dong Bicheng. She came back and said to Qin Haodong, "Director Dong will handle everything here. Let's go." Qin Haodong said goodbye to Nailan Wuxia and then left with Feng Wu. After getting in the car, he asked, "Senior Sister Feng Wu, how are your injuries?" "Sacred Master, don't call me Senior Sister. Just call me Feng Wu." Feng Wu said respectfully, "My injuries are all superficial. They didn't hurt my muscles and bones. I just lost a lot of blood. I just need to find a place to deal with it." Qin Haodong said, "Let's go to my house. I'm a doctor. I'll help you deal with your injuries." "Okay, Sacred Master." I'll make things clear to you. Qin Haodong said, don't always call me Sacred Master. It makes people think that I'm an old monster. Just call me Haodong. Feng Wu said respectfully, I don't dare. If my master finds out, he will punish me according to the sect rules. Qin Haodong shook his head helplessly. Such a beautiful girl turned out to be stubborn. What era are we in now? If you call me that, others will think that we're mentally ill. Anyway, you're my senior sister. Just call me Haodong. Feng Wu hesitated for a moment and said, I can call you Haodong in front of others, but I still have to call you Sacred Master when there's no one around. Whatever you want. Qin Haodong really didn't know how the Zihang Sword House brainwashed Feng Wu, but since she insisted, there was nothing he could do. What token did you show Dong Biqing just now? Feng Wu said, it's the token of the Xianyuan Pavilion. I'm an elder of the Xianyuan Pavilion. It's the Xianyuan Pavilion's arrangement that I came to the Shanghai Medical College this time. As early as a few years ago, we found signs of the Devil Gate's activities in Shanghai, so we sent me here to find out the truth. I didn't expect that the Sun family was actually a force cultivated by the Hehuan sect of the Devil Gate. So you're a member of the Xianyuan Pavilion, and you're also an elder. Qin Haodong said jokingly, I'm also a member of the Xianyuan Pavilion, but I'm a guest elder. I'm still a little inferior to you. Feng Wu said, the master of the Xianyuan Pavilion is my master, and you're the sacred master of the Zihang Sword House. In this way, the entire Xianyuan Pavilion will listen to your orders. This is too complicated. Let's talk about it later. I'll make a phone call first. Qin Haodong took out his mobile phone and dialed Zhou Jieluan's number. It was already midnight. Old Master Zhou had just fallen asleep when he was woken up by the phone ringing. However, he rarely gave this phone to others. Since it rang, it meant that something big had happened. He glanced at the caller ID and saw that it was Qin Haodong calling. He immediately pressed the answer button. Little guy, it's so late. Shouldn't you call Xinzhu? Why are you looking for me? Qin Haodong said, Old Master, as you wish, the Sun family has fallen. Hurry up and call all the people of the Zhou family. Get ready to grab some benefits. The earlier you do it, the more benefits you can get. The Sun family would definitely be removed from Shanghai after such a big incident. However, as a top family in Shanghai, their industry was also extremely huge. After their fall, they would definitely be crazily nibbled away by other forces. Hearing this news, Zhou Jieluan sat up from the bed and cried, Really? You're not joking with me, are you? Qin Haodong said, Old Master, you said it yourself. Even if I were to joke at this time, it would be to find a beautiful woman. I wouldn't joke with you. That's great. I didn't expect that I would live to see this day. Old Master Zhou was so excited that he almost jumped up. At this moment, he was no longer sleepy. It had always been his lifelong wish to become the biggest family in Shanghai. It was a pity that there were 3 families in the past, and he could not see any hope. However, since this young man came to Shanghai, everything became a reality. First, the Jing family fell, and now the Sun family fell. So in the future, Shanghai would belong to the Zhou family. However, he also knew how all this came about. Even if they became the biggest family in Shanghai in the future, they could never provoke Qin Haodong. Otherwise, the Jing family and the Sun family would be their example. After hanging up the phone, he immediately called the housekeeper in, and then called all the core members of the Zhou family. They held an emergency meeting that night. The next morning, they began to crazily eat the big cake that was the Sun family. After making the phone call, Qin Haodong took Feng Wu back to his room. First, he took a dress from Lin Momo and changed Feng Wu's bloody dress. Then, he began to treat her injuries. There were more than a dozen knife wounds on Feng Wu's body, all caused by Zhou Changkong's boomerang knife. Fortunately, they were all superficial wounds and did not hurt the muscles and bones. After applying Qin Haodong's unique golden sore medicine, the scabs quickly fell off. Not even a scar was left. The only thing that was a little embarrassing was the 2 wounds on her lower abdomen and buttocks. It was a little awkward to treat them, but Feng Wu looked natural and graceful without any shyness. After the wounds were treated, the 2 took a shower and then returned to the room. Feng Wu said, "Sacred Master, can you tell me how you got the Xianyuan sword?" "Yes." Qin Haodong told her how he got the Xianyuan sword and how he broke the strange seal. Feng Wu said, "No wonder that Sihang's sword house has not found any news about the Xianyuan sword for thousands of years. It turns out that it was sealed. But who sealed the divine sword? I don't know. That seal is extremely strange. I've never seen such a strange seal." Qin Haodong said, "Tell me, what's going on with the Sihang sword house? What does it have to do with the Xianyuan sword? Let me tell you the origin of the Zihang sword house first." Feng Wu said, "The first sword master of the Zihang sword house was called Dini. Everyone knows that she founded the Zihang sword house, but they don't know that it was all arranged by Dini's teacher, Leimu." "Leimu?" Qin Haodong said, "Are you talking about the wife of the Yellow Emperor?" Feng Wu nodded and said, "Everyone knows that Leimu is the wife of the Yellow Emperor. She is virtuous and motherly, and she created silkworm breeding and weaving. But they don't know that she is actually a martial arts master and the Yellow Emperor's dual cultivation partner." Chapter 596. Qin Haodong said, "You mean Leimu asked her disciple, Dini, to create the Zihang sword house? With her identity and status at that time, there was no need for her to do so. What was her purpose?" Feng Wu said, "It's a long story, and the cause is very complicated. In the Battle of Zhulu, the Yellow Emperor killed Qiyu with the Xianyuan sword and cut off his head. This is a history that everyone knows. But what people don't know is that after this battle, the Yellow Emperor also disappeared, including his Xianyuan sword. There is no trace of him and his sword." Qin Haodong said, "According to folklore, didn't the Yellow Emperor marry 3,000 women and then ascend? It's all folklore. In fact, there is no such thing at all. Although monogamy was not practiced at that time, the Yellow Emperor only had 4 wives. How could he have a harem of 3,000? Feng Wu said, "According to the records of our Zihang sword house, after the Battle of Zhulu, the Yellow Emperor suddenly disappeared, and there was no news of him since. As the official wife of the Yellow Emperor, Leimu sent many people to look for the whereabouts of the Yellow Emperor, but there was still no news. Leimu was an extremely infatuated woman. She did not give up. She asked Dini to create the Zihang sword house for 2 reasons. One was to find the whereabouts of the Yellow Emperor, and the other was to fight against the Devil Gate and protect the people of Huaxia." Qin Haodong asked, "Fight against the Devil Gate? What kind of organization is the Devil Gate?" Feng Wu said, "Qiyu was killed by the Yellow Emperor in Zhulu, but his wife and subordinates were still there. They always wanted to avenge Qiyu, but they couldn't find the Yellow Emperor. In the end, they killed the Yan Huang tribe in Huaxia." Qin Haodong said in surprise, "Qiyu had a wife? There is no record of this in the history books." "There is, but there is very little information, so you didn't pay attention. I once saw a record like this in a book. Qiyu chased after the Yellow Emperor and fought on the shores of Zhuolu's Little Ah. There were no beasts left in the 9 corners, and the 5 inner regions were desolated. The Red Emperor was shocked and said to the Yellow Emperor. He executed Qiyu and killed him in Zhongji. The Yaoli mentioned in this record was Qiyu's wife. According to the records of the Zihang sword house, she was a very powerful woman whose cultivation was not inferior to Leimu's. Moreover, she did not disappear after Qiyu's death. Instead, she led the Jiuli tribe to launch a crazy revenge against the Yellow Emperor Xianyuan tribe. However, under the leadership of Leimu, the Xianyuan tribe launched a counterattack. Both sides suffered losses, and Yaoli didn't gain any advantage. Yaoli was an extremely vengeful woman. She was unwilling to let go just like that, so she created the demon sect and wanted her descendants to take revenge on the Xianyuan clan for generations to come. In order to deal with the revenge of the Dark Gate, Leimu founded the Zihang Sword House. The two sides have been fighting like this for thousands of years. Qin Haodong was quite shocked. He didn't expect that there was such a struggle behind the civilized society. He said, "Is the Hehuan sect we met today the Dark Gate?" Feng Wu shook her head and said, "The Hehuan sect is not the Dark Gate. It's just a subordinate sect of the Dark Gate. After thousands of years of development, the Dark Gate has become extremely powerful. Although they have changed countless sect masters, every sect master is called Yaoli. This has not changed. Under the sect master, there are 8 sect protector elders, 4 sect heavenly kings, and the left and right inspectors. These people are all high-level members of the Dark Gate. There are 7 sects under them, namely the 5 Poisons sect, the Hehuan sect, the Skeleton sect, the Yinfu sect, the Maihun sect, the Black Witch sect, and the Beast-controlling sect. Bai Rui and Zhou Changkong are just 2 protectors of the Hehuan sect." Qin Haodong took a deep breath and said, "So powerful?" The 2 protectors of the Hehuan sect are already at the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. How high are the cultivation of the sect master of the Dark Gate, the sect protector elders, and the heavenly kings? Feng Wu said, "The cultivation of the sect master of the Dark Gate is unfathomable. He is at least at the Saint Realm. However, the Dark Gate and the Zihang Sword House haven't fought head-on for many years, so the specific cultivation is not clear. According to past experience, the cultivation of the sect master of the Zihang Sword House should be on par. As for the 8 sect protector elders, 4 sect heavenly kings, and the left and right inspectors, they are a little weaker. They are basically at the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. The sect masters of our 7 subordinate sects are also at this level. My God, are they so powerful?" Qin Haodong was still shocked by the strength of the Dark Gate. Not to mention our sect master, just the level 9 Supreme Power Realm is enough to compete with those aristocratic families in the capital. He originally thought that the martial arts on Earth had declined, but he didn't expect it to be so powerful. It seemed that he didn't notice this before because he was just an ordinary person at that time and had no access to this circle at all. Feng Wu said, "The strength of the Dark Gate is indeed very strong, and they have been hiding in the dark. This time, they found traces of the Dark Gate, so the Xianyuan Pavilion sent me to check. I have been hiding in Shanghai for a long time and slowly found some clues about the activities of the Dark Gate, but I didn't expect that the Hehuan sect would set such a trap. Fortunately, the Sacred Master arrived today. Otherwise, I might have been killed." Qin Haodong said, "Since the strength of the Dark Gate is so powerful, the Zihang Sword House is not bad, is it?" Feng Wu said proudly, "Of course. In addition to the unfathomable cultivation of the Zihang Sword House, there are 8 great elders, 12 holy swordsmen, and 5 sect masters of the hidden sections. Each of them is at the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Otherwise, how could they compete with the Dark Gate? It's just that they rarely come out if the Dark Gate doesn't come out, so not many people know about it." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "By the way, you haven't made it clear yet. How did I become the Sacred Master of the Zihang Sword House?" Feng Wu said, "This is the first rule set by Leimu at the beginning of the establishment of the Zihang Sword House. The person who holds the Xianyuan sword is the Sacred Master of the Zihang Sword House. All the disciples of the Sword House must obey the orders of the Sacred Master." Qin Haodong said, "Isn't this rule a little inappropriate? What if the Xianyuan sword falls into the hands of the evil sects? For example, if it falls into the hands of someone from the Dark Gate, do you also have to recognize them as your master?" Feng Wu shook her head and said, "That's impossible. Leimu and Emperor Huang Xianyuan are a pair of dual cultivation partners. They know each other's cultivation methods very well, and they also know that the Xianyuan sword has a spirit. Even if it falls into the hands of the evil sects, it can't be recognized as its master." Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, "What if someone tries to control the Zihang sword with a fake sword?" Feng Wu said, "That's unlikely. Only the core disciples of the sect know the secret of the Xianyuan sword. Others don't know this rule of the Zihang Sword House. Besides, even if someone knows it, it doesn't matter. The Xian Yuan sword can't be forged. Even if we can't recognize it with our naked eyes, the Leimu sword in my hand can recognize it. They are originally a pair of male and female swords. A fake sword can never complete the combination of the two swords. Oh. Qin Haodong nodded. At the same time, he was secretly happy that he had become the sacred master of the Zihang sword house by accident, which meant that he had an extremely powerful force in his hands. He asked, I heard from Bai Rui that there are no male disciples in the Zihang sword house. Is that true? Feng Wu said, he's right. Leimu practiced the dual cultivation method with the Yellow Emperor, so the cultivation method she passed down was only suitable for women. Therefore, there are naturally no male disciples in the Zihang sword house. Qin Haodong reached out and the Xianyuan sword appeared in his palm. Chapter 597. Feng Wu said, according to the records of our Zihang sword house, after the Xianyuan divine sword recognizes you as its master, you can get the Xianyuan heart skill by dripping a drop of blood on the rune on the hilt. Oh. Let me try. Qin Haodong pricked his index finger and dripped a drop of blood on the rune on the hilt of the Xianyuan sword. After the drop of blood was dripped on the rune, it was quickly absorbed like water dripping on yellow sand. Then the Xianyuan sword flashed, and a golden light curtain appeared on the wall of the room. The light curtain was densely packed with small characters, and the Xianyuan heart skill was written at the beginning. It's true. Qin Haodong stared at the ancient Huaxia characters on the screen and read them carefully. With his spirit as the foundation, it only took him a minute or two to understand all of them. Then, he put away the Xianyuan divine sword. The Xianyuan heart skill was also an extremely advanced cultivation method, but it was still a little worse than his evergreen wood skill. Naturally, there was no need for him to change his cultivation method. At the same time, the evergreen wood skill could imitate any other cultivation method. He tried to use the green wood genuine qi and walked a circle according to the route of the Xianyuan heart skill. It was very smooth and the effect was good. In other words, he had learned the Xianyuan heart skill now. At this moment, he felt something wrong. He turned his head and saw that Feng Wu, who had always been dignified and beautiful, was looking at him lovingly with her cheeks flushed. It turned out that after he ran the Xianyuan heart skill, the genuine qi in Feng Wu's body immediately responded. The speed of running was more than 10 times faster than usual, and she had a feeling of excitement. She wanted to throw herself into the arms of the young man in front of her. Qin Haodong looked at Feng Wu and also had a feeling of eagerness. This was the mutual response of the cultivation method of dual cultivation. After understanding all this, Qin Haodong hurriedly stopped running the Xianyuan heart skill, and the two of them slowly returned to normal. After verifying everything Feng Wu said, it was equivalent to confirming the marriage between them in disguise. Both of them fell into silence, and the atmosphere in the room became a little awkward. Qin Haodong was a little hesitant, not knowing whether he should accept the engagement. If he accepted it, the two of them had known each other for a short time, and there was no emotional foundation. Besides, he had enough girlfriends now. He was Feng Wu's only choice if she didn't accept it. If she refused, the girl would be left alone for the rest of her life. It seemed that he had to accept a disciple. Even for the sake of the Zihang sword house, he had to pass on the Yellow Emperor Xianyuan. It was almost midnight, so the two of them didn't sleep. They sat there and chatted. Qin Haodong tried his best to learn as much information about the Zihang sword house and the Devil Gate from Feng Wu. This was especially true for the Joyful Union sect. He felt that today's matter couldn't be resolved so easily. Only by understanding more information about the other party would he be able to understand himself and the enemy, and protect himself and the people around him. At the same time, in a luxurious suite of a 5-star hotel, the black-clothed saint who escaped from the Sun family was standing there respectfully. Opposite him sat a man and a woman on the leather sofa. The man's hair was white, but his skin was as smooth as a baby's. There was not a single wrinkle on his face, making it impossible to tell his age. What stood out the most was that this person had a pair of red eyebrows, which looked rather strange. Next to him sat an extremely voluptuous and sexy woman. This woman was about 20 years old, but she had the charm of an adult woman. She exuded a huge pressure from all over her body, making it impossible to guess her age. Black Wind, did you say that Bai Rui and Zhou Changkong were killed by the little woman from the Zihang sword house? The black-clothed man called Black Wind said respectfully, yes, sect master. The two protectors are dead. The man and the woman opposite him were the sect masters of the Joyful Union sect. Because of the dual cultivation, the Joyful Union sect was different from other sections. There were 2 sect masters in total. The man was called Red-Eyebrowed Monster, and the woman was called Madam of Bones. Both of them were experts at the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Red-Eyebrowed Monster was born with a pair of red eyebrows, which was how he got his name. Madam of Bones was good at the art of collecting yang to nourish yin. It was said that any man who had sex with her would be sucked into a skeleton, so she got the name Madam of Bones. Red-Eyebrowed Monster picked up the red wine glass in front of him and took a sip. He asked slowly, the 2 protectors are both at the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. It's not easy to kill them. How many masters did the other party send? Madam of Bones said, tell me the specific situation at that time. It must be detailed and there can't be any omissions. It's like this, sect master. Black Wind told him the whole story and finally said, originally, the 2 protectors were going to win, but then Qin Haodong suddenly appeared. I don't know how the 2 protectors were killed. Red-Eyebrowed Monster frowned and said in a cold voice, no matter what, you are a master at the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm. You were watching the battle at that time, but you didn't even see how they died. What's the use of you? Black Wind knelt on the ground and said nervously, I'm incompetent. Please spare my life, sect master. It was no wonder that he was afraid. The 2 people in front of him were both big shots in the Devil Gate. They could kill him easily. Madam of Bones said, get up, I'll spare you this time. Thank you, sect master. After saying that, Black Wind got up from the ground. Madam of Bones asked again, what's the cultivation level of the boy named Qin Haodong? Black Wind said, according to the information I've collected, his cultivation should be between the 3rd level and the 4th level of the Supreme Power Realm. With such a low cultivation, not only did he save Feng Wu, but he also killed the 2 protectors in an instant. Madam of Bones turned around and said to Red-Eyebrowed Monster, there's something strange about this matter. We know the cultivation of Bai Rui and Zhou Changkong. They have been at the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm for many years. Moreover, the 2 of them are good at joint attacks. Even if we attack them, we can only defeat them after 3 moves. How could they be killed in an instant? It's strange, it's really strange. Red-Eyebrowed Monster thought for a moment and said to Black Wind, did you see it clearly at that time? Could there be masters from the Zihang sword house hiding nearby? Black Wind said, I don't think so. I didn't see anyone else except Feng Wu and Qin Haodong. Besides, if there were masters from the Zihang sword house nearby, they would have taken action long ago. They wouldn't have let Feng Wu suffer so many injuries. That makes sense. Madam of Bones said, there's something strange about this matter. The other party must have some tricks that we don't know. We have to figure it out. Red-Eyebrowed Monster said, Madam, do you mean that we won't take action for the time being? Madam of Bones smiled and said, it's been a long time since I've encountered such an interesting thing. We have to have a good time. Leave it to me. I'll give the Zihang sword house a surprise. In the room, Qin Haodong and Feng Wu were almost done talking. He took out an enhanced version of the energy-gathering pill from his pocket and said, this is my latest pill. Try it and see if you can reach the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. I'll give it a try. Feng Wu took the pill and swallowed it. Then she began to meditate cross-legged. Qin Haodong looked at Feng Wu, full of expectation. He had now figured out the strength of the Devil Gate. He could not defeat the Hehuan sect alone. If Feng Wu could reach the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, it would be a guarantee. But half an hour later, he was disappointed. After taking the energy-gathering pill, Feng Wu's aura changed a little, but it was only a little bit. It was far less obvious than Lin Momo's. Soon, Feng Wu opened her eyes. Qin Haodong asked, "What's going on? Is it that my pill has no effect on a martial artist at your level?" Feng Wu shook her head and said, "It's not that it's useless for a martial artist at my level, but it's useless for me. I grew up in the Zihang Sword House and was appointed as the successor by my master a long time ago. All the resources in the sect are given to me alone. I've eaten too many natural treasures, so it's normal that your pill is useless for me." Qin Haodong suddenly felt relieved. No wonder Feng Wu had reached the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm at such a young age. This was the advantage of being in a big sect. They had resources that ordinary people could not enjoy at all. They had countless natural treasures and spiritual medicines, so the disciples in the sect could improve far faster than others. His energy-gathering pill was useless for Feng Wu, but it was still effective for others. "Get up." While they were talking, there was a knock on the door. It was Li Meiyu who knocked on the door. Every morning, she would wake Qin Haodong up to cook breakfast. Today was different from the other days. She came with Jia Shihan. Because the door was not locked, it was opened after a few knocks. "Lazy girl, get up quickly and go cook." She was still talking when she noticed Feng Wu's alluring figure. After being stunned for a moment, Li Meiyu immediately cried out excitedly, "Qin Haodong, no wonder you came back so late last night. You actually brought back another beauty. You spent the night in the same room." Qin Haodong was speechless. He accidentally knocked over this little vinegar jar again. He quickly explained, "It's not what you think. Senior sister Feng Wu is my patient. I treated her last night." Li Meiyu cried, "Do you need to spend one night to treat a patient?" Then we chatted. Chatted? Do you think I can believe it? It's more like having sex, isn't it? After seeing Feng Wu, Jia Shihan's eyes also flashed with a trace of loneliness, but she did not show it. Instead, she pulled Li Meiyu and persuaded, "Sister Xiaoyu, don't shout. Believe in him. He won't lie to us. Only a silly girl like you will be deceived by him." Li Meiyu cried, "Look, how many girls do we have here now?" Furthermore, there were more and more of them every day. What was he trying to do by bringing another one back? Is he going to set up a concentration camp for beauties? Why don't you believe me? Qin Haodong pointed to the bloody clothes in the trash can and said, "Look at those clothes. Senior sister Feng Wu is indeed injured. How could it be like what you think?" Li Meiyu looked at the blood-stained dress and blinked her big eyes. "Are you sure you're not lying to me?" Chapter 598. Feng Wu walked over slowly and said, "I was indeed injured. It was Haodong who cured me." Li Meiyu had already believed Qin Haodong's words, but she was dissatisfied with Feng Wu's title as the first campus belle. She was even more dissatisfied with her appearance in Qin Haodong's bedroom. She snorted coldly and turned to leave. Qin Haodong raised his hand to cover his forehead. He had had enough of this little vinegar jar. He didn't know when he could send her away. Jia Shihan said, "Little brother, don't be angry. Sister Xiaoyu has such a temper. Don't be angry. I'll make breakfast for you." After Qin Haodong said that, he walked to the kitchen. Jia Shihan smiled politely at Feng Wu and then left. Li Meiyu's temper was like a child's face, changing very quickly. When she was eating breakfast, she began to smile again, as if the unpleasantness in the morning had never happened. On the other hand, Jia Shihan looked a little lonely and ate very little for breakfast. It was the first time that Feng Wu had eaten breakfast cooked by Qin Haodong. She praised it and said, "It's delicious. The breakfast you made is really delicious." Qin Haodong said, "It's delicious. Eat more." Li Meiyu pouted. Obviously, she was very dissatisfied with Qin Haodong's enthusiasm. She reached out to grab a steamed bun and took a bite. It seemed that this steamed bun was Feng Wu, and she could vent her dissatisfaction. Qin Haodong said, "From today on, senior sister Feng Wu is our new family member. She will live with us." This was what he had discussed with Feng Wu. After killing the two protectors of the Hehuan sect, the Hehuan sect would not let it go. If Feng Wu moved in, the two of them could take care of each other. It would be safer. Hearing what he said, everyone put down their bowls and chopsticks to show their welcome. Only Li Meiyu snorted coldly and continued to eat her steamed buns. After breakfast, Qin Haodong and Nailan Wushuang went to school together. Lin Momo sent the little fellow to kindergarten and then went to work on her group's affairs. Soon, only Jia Shihan was left in the huge villa. As the others left, the smile on her face slowly disappeared. Back in her room, she grabbed a pillow next to her and sat on the bed in a daze. Since Ouyang Shanshan left Shanghai, she had been staying at home and the time she spent in a daze had increased. After an unknown amount of time, the phone next to her rang, waking her up from her daze. Glancing at the caller ID, Jia Shihan pressed the answer button. Ouyang Shanshan on the other side of the phone said, "Shihan, what are you doing?" Jia Shihan said, "Nothing. I was in a daze alone." After spending some time together, not only did the two of them become more and more compatible with each other on stage, they also had a very good relationship in private and became best friends who talked about everything. Ouyang Shanshan said, "What's wrong? You don't sound very happy." Jia Shihan said, "No. No. No. Little girl, do you think you can fool me? Although I don't see you, I know you have something on your mind." Ouyang Shanshan said with a smile, "Tell me, what made our little beauty unhappy?" After a moment of silence, Jia Shihan said, "Sister Shanshan, I don't know why. Recently, when I saw him with other girls, I felt very uncomfortable. I know it's wrong, but I just can't control myself. This morning, when I saw him coming out of the room with a very beautiful girl, I felt sour in my heart. In short, I was very unhappy." Hearing this, Ouyang Shanshan cried out reflexively, "Does Haodong have a new girlfriend?" Jia Shihan said, "He said no. He said it was one of his patients, but the sister named Feng Wu is so beautiful, like a fairy in a painting." Ouyang Shanshan said, "Is she more beautiful than you?" "I think she's more beautiful than me." After a moment of silence, Ouyang Shanshan said, "Shihan, you're in love with your little brother." Jia Shihan's expression changed greatly and she said in a panic, "Sister Shanshan, don't scare me." Ouyang Shanshan said, "What's there to be afraid of? It's every woman's right to pursue love. But, Sister Xiaoyu likes him very much." Ouyang Shanshan said, "Shihan, let me tell you, it's your right to like someone. Not to mention that Haodong is not married yet, even if he is married, it won't stop you from liking him. Is that okay?" Jia Shihan said weakly. "Of course. I can give in to other things, but not love." Jia Shihan said, "Sister Shanshan, do you also like him?" Ouyang Shanshan sighed and said, "I do like him. I also confessed, but unfortunately, he didn't accept me." Jia Shihan said, "Sister Shanshan, you are a big star and so outstanding. If he doesn't even accept you, he definitely won't like me." Ouyang Shanshan said, "No one can tell what love is. Maybe I don't have fate with Haodong, but you do. Since you like him, you should give it a try. Otherwise, you will regret it for the rest of your life." Jia Shihan said faintly, "I don't know if it's love. In short, I'm happy when he's happy. I'm sad when he's sad. I'm willing to do anything for him, even die. It's a pity that I'm too stupid to help him." Ouyang Shanshan sighed and said, "Little girl, you've fallen in love with him, and you're deeply in love with him. This time, you refuse to come to Hong Kong with me. Is it because of him?" Jia Shihan nodded. "It's like this. I don't want to leave him, not even for a minute. It's a pity that he's too busy and doesn't have time to accompany me. Ouyang Shanshan said, Shirhan, you should tell him that you've fallen in love with him. But I'm scared. Jia Shirhan said in a low voice, he already has so many sisters around him. They are all prettier and better than me. I can see that each of them likes him very much. I can't compare to them. Ouyang Shanshan said, Shirhan, you must be confident. You're also very beautiful. Just as Qin Haodong was about to turn off the light, he saw a snow-white figure appear in front of the window. Then, she jumped in and closed the window. He smiled helplessly and said, Wan, why did you go through the window again? It was Qi Wan, Tonight, she was wearing a white suspender lace nightdress. This nightdress was really short, revealing her sexy collarbone and smooth skin. Her smooth skin barely covered the important parts. The most terrible thing was that the material of this nightdress was too thin. Under the illumination of the light, the scenery inside was looming, revealing endless temptation. Qi Wan stepped forward and hugged Qin Haodong's arm. She said with a smile, I'm here to have an affair with you. Of course, I have to be careful. Feeling the amazing elasticity coming from his arm, Qin Haodong forcibly suppressed the impulse in his heart and said, Don't be ridiculous. What do you want? Nothing. It's thunder outside. I'm afraid, so I come to you. Qi Wan said and threw herself into his arms, pretending to be trembling. Qin Haodong said, You are a master at the level of covert power. Will you be afraid of thunder? This has nothing to do with cultivation. I'm a girl. It's natural for me to be timid. Qin Haodong said, Then why don't you go to Sister Wushuang's room? Hearing this, Qi Wan stared at him and put on a fierce look. She said, Why do you talk so much nonsense? I just want to have sex. What's wrong with that? Chapter 599. Qin Haodong quickly said, Please forgive me, heroine. I've been weak since I was a child. Xia, please spare me. Qi Weiner grabbed his ear and said, Don't pretend to be pitiful. You're weak now. Tell me, what's going on with Sister Momo's cultivation? It hurts. It hurts. Qin Haodong put on a painful expression. He held Qi Weiner's little hand in his and said, What's going on? I don't know. Qi Weiner stared at him and said, Don't play dumb with me. I also want to improve my cultivation. Qin Haodong said, You can't be too eager to succeed in cultivation. Didn't I give you the elixir? Don't fool me with that broken elixir. Qi Weiner said, I've already heard from Sister Momo. She's now at the 4th level of the Supreme Power Realm. You helped her get there. You can't favor one and discriminate against the other. I want it too. Qin Haodong knew that he couldn't hide it anymore, so he said, But that method is not suitable for you. There's nothing inappropriate about it. Isn't it just double cultivation? Anyway, I've already decided that I'm yours. What are you afraid of? Qin Haodong held her cheeks with both hands, looked into her eyes and said, Have you really thought about it? Don't you regret it? Of course not. No matter what, I'll be with you for the rest of my life. Qi Weiner said in a firm tone. It was difficult to disappoint a beauty. What else could Qin Haodong say now? After a short silence, he reached out and held Qi Weiner in his arms, kissing her fiercely. Qi Weiner did not show weakness. She put her hands around his neck. After a long time, the two separated, panting. Qin Haodong raised his right hand and picked up the top button of the nightdress, then the second, the third. Qi Weiner's eyes were like water, and her cheeks were so red that it seemed to be dripping blood, but she did not dodge at all. Knowing that this moment was finally coming, she gently closed her eyes. Her chest rose and fell violently, constantly changing a wonderful arc. The last button was unbuttoned, and there was nothing that could stop Qin Haodong's movement at this time. He raised his hand and gently pulled the nightdress off. Suddenly, a dazzling spring light burst out, and the atmosphere in the whole room became ambiguous. Seeing this scene, Chin Haodong-hee suddenly felt a little nervous, as if he didn't know what to do. His nostrils were burning, as if he was about to have a nosebleed. Although Chi Weiner was mentally prepared, it was her first time after all. For a moment, her cheeks were hot, as if on fire. She gently opened her eyes and saw that Chin Haodong was staring at her body. She couldn't help but feel more shy. However, she was a brave girl after all. She knew that there was no point in being shy at this time. She might even miss the most important opportunity in her life. So be it. A woman's life was bound to have a first time. Do you think the boss doesn't know that Miss Lee has left the villa? He must know that. He must have his reasons not to chase after her. Let's not worry about it. Sword thought for a moment and said, "You're right. Let's pretend that we didn't see it." What they didn't know was that their boss was busy giving Chi Wan cultivation. Even if all the people in the villa left, they wouldn't be distracted, let alone Li Meiyu. After Li Meiyu left the community, she wandered aimlessly on the street alone. It was the first time in her life that she had fallen in love with a man and cried for a man. So the more she thought about it, the sadder she felt and the farther she walked. As she walked, a brightly lit bar appeared in front of her. She didn't even think about it before she walked in. Although it was almost midnight outside, the nightlife in the bar had just begun. People who had been depressed for a whole day were here to vent their inner emotions. There was a hubbub of voices. Li Meiyu went to the bar counter and ordered a strong cocktail from the bartender. Then she drank it in one gulp and ordered another one. She had only one idea now. That was to get herself drunk and get rid of all her worries. When a beautiful woman like her came to the bar alone, she immediately became the center of attention. Many unkind gazes gathered on her. "Chick, are you drinking alone?" A gangster in a flowery shirt with a dragon tattooed on his chest came over with a lewd look. His obscene eyes wandered up and down Li Meiyu's body. There were 4 or 5 gangsters behind him. Their hair was dyed in colorful colors, and their faces were full of evil intentions. Li Meiyu ignored him. She picked up the glass in front of her again and drank it up. "Little girl, is there something you're unhappy about? Have you been dumped? Don't worry. If you don't want others, I want you. If you follow me, I promise you'll be happy," the man in the flowery shirt said and put his hand on Li Meiyu's shoulder. Li Meiyu raised her hand and pushed him away. "Go away, I don't know you." Then she said to the bartender again, "Give me another glass of wine." The man in the flowery shirt looked lewd. He said with a smile, "We don't know each other now, but we can be honest and have in-depth communication later. Let's go, girl. Let's find a room now and get familiar with each other." Then he reached out to grab Li Meiyu's wrist, trying to take Li Meiyu away from here. "Bastard, let me go." Li Meiyu, who was in an extremely bad mood, reached out to grab a bottle of red wine on the bar and smashed it hard on the man's head. With a crisp sound, the red wine exploded on the top of the man's head. The scarlet wine mixed with blood flowed down. The man in the flowery shirt was not mentally prepared at all. He did not expect that this girl, who looked extremely delicate, would directly hit him. "Bitch, how dare you hit me?" The man in the flowery shirt, who had come to his senses, was extremely furious. He shouted to the gangsters behind him, "Take this bitch away. Everyone has a share tonight. Brothers, let's take turns with her." A few gangsters had been drooling for a long time. After hearing their boss's order, they immediately rushed to Li Meiyu with a smile. They had not seen many women like her in their lives. After grabbing her wrist, they pulled her out. Li Meiyu resisted desperately, but she did not know martial arts at all. How could a girl be a match for several big men? She was about to be taken out of the bar. "Brothers, what are you doing? How can you treat a woman like this? Don't you know how to be tender to the fairer sex?" At this moment, a coquettish voice sounded. The voice was so coquettish that it made people feel a kind of desire from the bottom of their hearts. The man in the flowery shirt wiped the blood on his head and looked back, only to see a delicate woman standing behind him. Compared with Li Meiyu's immaturity, this woman was more like a ripe peach. Her skin was white and tender, and her cheeks were delicate. It was hard to tell her age. At the same time, she was full of charm. Her every move seemed to be able to hook people's souls. It seems that I'm fated to meet another woman today. One is pure and the other is coquettish. It seems that I have to taste all kinds of flavors today. The man in the flowery shirt chuckled and said, I want to taste what a virgin tastes like. He shouted to his men, take this woman with you. Brothers, let's have a good time today. A few of the hooligans roared excitedly and 2 of them immediately pounced on the coquettish woman. Chapter 600. The coquettish woman only wore a pink tube top, which just covered her 2 towering peaks. She wore a miniskirt which barely covered the key parts. 80% of her snow-white skin was exposed. Under the psychedelic light in the bar, it shone with a tempting light. The 2 gangsters had lewd looks on their faces. They reached out to grab the coquettish woman with a smile. They wanted to take advantage of her and take advantage of her. But before their hands could touch the coquettish woman, they heard the sound of bones cracking. Then they flew out like kites with broken strings, knocking over several nearby drinkers along the way. The woman's movements were so fast that no one even saw her movements. The 2 gangsters howled like pigs being slaughtered. After dealing with the 2 gangsters, the woman swayed her sexy body and walked toward the man in the flowery shirt. Do you know what I hate the most? I hate men who bully women like you. The man in the flowery shirt's expression changed. He didn't expect this woman to be so powerful. He shouted fiercely, how dare you touch my man? Do you know who I am? The woman smiled charmingly and reached out to touch his forehead. I know. You're a eunuch who serves the emperor. Nonsense. How could I be a eunuch? Before the man in the flowery shirt could finish his words, he suddenly felt a heart-wrenching pain in his lower abdomen. He even heard the sound of his balls breaking. He didn't know when the woman's long legs had been inserted between the legs of the flowery shirt. Suddenly, a pair of red high-heeled shoes kicked the key part. She still had a charming smile on her face. From now on, you're a eunuch. Many people in the bar originally had ideas about this coquettish woman, but they immediately gave up the idea after seeing her cruel means. This woman was truly too bewitching. Moreover, she was exceptionally ruthless, causing people to tremble in fear. At this time, the man in the flowery shirt turned into a big shrimp. He held his lower abdomen and curled up on the ground, letting out a heart-wrenching cry. The coquettish woman turned to look at the 2 gangsters beside Li Meiyu. I'll count to 10. Take him away quickly, or you'll also become eunuchs. 10. Just as the woman spat out a word, the 2 hooligans immediately rushed over, dragging the flowery shirt as if their tails had been stepped on, and fled from the bar like stray dogs. After dealing with these gangsters, the coquettish woman came to Li Meiyu and said as if she had done something trivial, Little sister, did I scare you? Li Meiyu came to her senses and was half sober. She said, I'm fine. Thank you for your help, sister. The coquettish woman giggled. It's nothing. We're all women. Women should help each other. The thing I hate the most in my life is men bullying women. A tasteless man like him should be turned into a eunuch. She snapped her fingers at the bartender behind the counter. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and give us 2 glasses of wine. The bartender came back to his senses and hurriedly mixed 2 glasses of wine and placed them in front of them. Come little sister, let's have a drink together. The coquettish woman enthusiastically pulled Li Meiyu to sit down with her. The 2 extremely beautiful women sitting together immediately became the brightest focus in the bar. However, after the incident just now, many male creatures only dared to look at them from a distance, and no one dared to come over to flirt with this coquettish woman. The coquettish woman picked up the glass and took a sip. She said, "Little sister, my surname is Bai. You can call me Sister Bai. What's your name?" "My name is Li Meiyu. Thank you for helping me just now." She had calmed down a lot now. It was too dangerous just now. If it hadn't been for the help of this woman, the consequences would have been unimaginable. This reminded her of the last time she was in danger in the bar. At that time, Qin Haodong had saved her. Thinking of that handsome man, she could not help but sigh. When she was in Hong Kong, countless rich men were around her like flies, but she didn't like those people. Now she finally found someone she liked, but unfortunately, he didn't like her. The coquettish woman said, "Little sister, you seem to have something on your mind. Can you tell me? Maybe I can help you." "No one can help me," Li Meiyu said as she picked up the glass and drank half of the wine in it. Although she didn't believe that this woman surnamed Bai could help her, she had a desire to pour out her feelings for Qin Haodong. Finally, she said, "I like him, but he brought back another woman." The coquettish woman said, "Little sister, you are so beautiful that even I like you. He has no reason not to like you. Is that woman more outstanding than you?" Li Meiyu said, "That woman is indeed very beautiful. Her name is Feng Wu, the first campus belle of Shanghai Medical College." An imperceptible cold light flashed in the coquettish woman's eyes. She said casually, "Little sister, it's just a man. There's no need to be so sad for him. But he said that he would pursue me, but he didn't. Instead, he found another woman." Li Meiyu's eyes were full of tears. There was sadness, disappointment, and indescribable feelings. The coquettish woman pulled a tissue and handed it to her, saying, "If you really like that man, I can help you." Li Meiyu wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and said, "His heart is not with me. What can I do?" "Of course there is a way." The coquettish woman said, "I fell in love with a heartless man just like you. I loved him very much, but he left with another woman." Li Meiyu couldn't help asking curiously, "What happened then?" "I was more sad and desperate than you at that time. I wanted to commit suicide by jumping into the river. Later, I was saved by an otherworldly master. He taught me a way to tie a man's heart. I tried it and it was really effective." Li Meiyu's eyes lit up and she said, "Really? What's the way?" The coquettish woman grabbed her LV bag and took out 2 different colors of incense, one black and one red. She said, "Is this the solution?" Li Meiyu said in surprise, "Aren't they just 2 incense sticks? What's the use?" The coquettish woman held the 2 incense sticks and said, "This red one is called the love incense, and the black one is called the broken love incense. If you want to win back a heartless man's heart, first use the broken love incense to break his fate with that woman, and then use the love incense to continue your fate with this person. Then, he will only love you in this life and will never fall in love with another woman again." "Are you serious? Can this thing work?" Li Meiyu looked at the 2 ordinary incense sticks and didn't quite believe the woman's words. "Sister, I won't lie to you. I did try it. Now my husband got it with these 2 incense sticks." The coquettish woman said, "It must be a good thing. It can definitely help you win back that man's heart, but I have to charge you for these 2 incense sticks. 1 incense stick is 500,000 yuan, and 2 incense sticks are 1 million yuan." Li Meiyu didn't say anything. She didn't care much about 1 million yuan. The Li family gave her more pocket money than that in a month. It was just that there were too many liars now, and the woman's words were so mysterious that she couldn't believe it. The coquettish woman seemed to know what she was thinking and said, "Sister, I know you don't trust me very much. How about this, you take this black broken love incense. I won't charge you for now. When you break them up and believe me, you can buy my red broken love incense with 1 million yuan. What do you think? Is that okay? You don't have to be afraid that I'll cheat you of your money. Well, it's a deal. If your method really works, I can give you 2 million yuan." Li Meiyu's eyes sparkled with excitement. The coquettish woman's method made her trust her a lot. The coquettish woman said with a charming smile, "Little sister, don't worry. I've used this kind of incense on many people. It works every time and it hasn't failed yet." Li Meiyu asked, "Sister Bai, how do you use this kind of incense?" The coquettish woman said, "The material of this kind of incense is very special. It's different from ordinary incense. It's colorless and odorless after being lit, and there's no smoke coming out. It's very hidden and won't be discovered. When you use it, let the man and woman stay in a room and then secretly light this incense. As long as they stay in the room for half an hour, they will definitely hate each other and it's impossible for them to be together in the future. But you have to be careful when you use it. Leave quickly after lighting the incense. Don't get too close, or you will also break your fate with him." Li Meiyu took the black broken love incense and said, "But how can I make them stay in the same room?" The coquettish woman spread out her hands and said, "You have to figure it out yourself. I can't help you." "All right then." Li Meiyu carefully put away the incense and said, "If it succeeds, how can I contact you? Can you leave me your phone number?" The coquettish woman said, "I don't like to use the phone. How about this? I'll wait for you in this bar every night for 3 days. You can come to me." "Well, thank you, Sister Bai. I'll go back now." Then Li Meiyu left the bar. After thinking for a while, she finally had an idea. She turned around and went into a large shopping mall next to her. She bought more than a dozen sets of women's clothes in a row, then took a taxi and went back to Qin Haodong's villa. In the room, Qin Haodong had completed the double cultivation initiation technique. At this time, Qi Weiner's momentum had soared and she had reached the 3rd level of the supreme power realm. Feeling the surging genuine qi in her body, Qi Weiner said excitedly, "Powerful. You're so powerful. I'll take advantage of you first." Then she was about to rush to Qin Haodong, but there was a hurried knock on the door. Chapter 601. "Haodong, open the door." "It's me." Nalan Wushuang's hurried voice came from the door. "It's Sister Wushuang." Qi Weiner jumped up from the bed, grabbed the pajamas next to her and put them on. Although she and Nalan Wushuang both liked Qin Haodong and they both knew it, it was still a little embarrassing to be seen by each other in such a secret way. "Go and open the door. I'll go back first." After saying that, she opened the window and dashed out in a flash. Like a nimble gecko, she stuck to the wall and returned to her room. Qin Haodong put on his clothes and went to open the door. He said to Nalan Wushuang at the door, "Sister Wushuang, what's the matter?" Nalan Wushuang said hurriedly, "Something's wrong, Haodong. Li Meiyu is missing." It turned out that she had just taken a bath and was ready to go to bed. But after all, Li Meiyu was the object of their protection, so she went to check, only to find that the door of the room was open and there was no one inside. They searched the whole villa but did not find Li Meiyu. "Don't worry, let's look for her again." Hearing that Li Meiyu was missing, Qin Haodong was also a little flustered. After all, this little girl was the object of their protection. If she was lost, Daddy's security company would lose face. And after so many days of getting along with Li Meiyu, he and Li Meiyu could be regarded as friends. He did not want anything to happen to this jealous little girl. He spread out his powerful spirit and instantly covered the whole villa, but he did not feel Li Meiyu's breath. Not in the villa. Has she been taken away? Qin Haodong quickly called Sword on duty and asked, "Have you seen Li Meiyu?" Sword said, "Yes, she went out about 2 hours ago." Hearing that she was not taken away, Qin Haodong finally breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "Who did she go out with?" Sword said, "No one else, just Miss Li herself." And she looked very sad, crying as she walked. Hearing this, Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat. Did this little girl know about him and Qi Weiner? Why didn't you stop her? Sword said awkwardly, "I thought she was just going out for a walk. I didn't think so much." At this time, Qi Weiner, who had changed her clothes, also rushed over. Feng Wu heard the noise and came over. Feng Wu asked, Haodong, what happened? Mei Yu is missing. Now we have to find her as soon as possible. Qin Haodong looked very anxious. After all, Li Mei Yu was just an ordinary person and there was no one around to protect her. It was very dangerous for a woman to be outside so late at night. Just as he was about to take out his mobile phone and ask Ma Wenjue to send all the members of the Daddy Security Company to look for her, a taxi stopped in front of their house. The door opened, and Li Mei Yu got out of the car with many bags. Seeing that she was safe and sound, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Qin Haodong put down his phone, stepped forward and said, It's so late. What are you doing out alone? I just feel suffocated, so I'm going to go shopping and buy some stuff at a nightclub. Li Mei Yu said to Qin Haodong apologetically, I'm sorry to make you all worry. Let's go back to the room and talk. Since there was nothing else, everyone went back to their rooms. Li Mei Yu carried the things she had bought and went straight to Qin Haodong's room. I'm exhausted. Li Mei Yu threw the things in her hands on the sofa and sat down tiredly. What did you buy? Qin Haodong asked. I've been rude to senior sister Feng Wu these days. Now I realize my mistake, so I bought some clothes for her as an apology. Li Mei Yu said with some embarrassment, but I'm a shy person, and I'm too embarrassed to apologize to Sister Feng Wu directly. Why don't you ask her to try on these clothes for me and see if they fit? Although Qin Haodong was a little surprised, he did not expect that this unruly little vinegar jar would suddenly become sensible. He said, It's so late today. Why don't we talk about it tomorrow? Li Mei Yu said, I can't do that. If Sister Feng Wu doesn't forgive me, I won't be able to sleep well tonight. Well, wait here for a while. I'll ask Feng Wu to come over. Qin Haodong was certainly happy to ease the conflict between Li Mei Yu and Feng Wu. He went out of his room and knocked on Feng Wu's door. As soon as he left, Li Mei Yu took out the black broken love incense, quickly lit it and inserted it behind a flower pot. As the coquettish woman said, the incense was made of very special materials. After it was lit, there was only a little faint incense, but no smoke or smell. Li Mei Yu grew up in Hong Kong, where the theory of feng shui was prevalent. The reason why she came to Shanghai to study at the medical college was that a feng shui master had told her that she could avoid a bloody disaster here. Because of this idea, she believed the coquettish woman's words and felt that the broken love incense could break the fate between Qin Haodong and Feng Wu. Until now, she did not know that it was not Feng Wu who had just slept with Qin Haodong, but Qi Wan. After inserting the incense, she looked at the place. It was very hidden, and people who did not know would not find it at all. Then she hurried out of the room. On the other side of the bar, after Li Mei Yu left, the coquettish woman had a smug look on her face. She drank up the wine in the glass and walked out of the bar under the gaze of many men. She had not gone far when more than a dozen gangsters with short knives and iron bars caught up with her. Brother, this is the woman who just kicked our boss. A yellow-haired gangster pointed at the coquettish woman and said to a big man with a fierce face. This yellow-haired gangster was the subordinate of the flamboyant shirt. It seemed that he was looking for help. The coquettish woman turned around, smiled strangely at these people, and then disappeared in an instant. The big man was about to show off, but he did not expect that the woman would disappear. He was so scared that his hair stood on end. Ghost! Ghost! The originally aggressive gangsters let out a scream and fled without looking back. The coquettish woman was Madame of Bones, the master of the Hahuan sect. She could kill all these gangsters with a flick of her fingers, but she did not want to get into trouble, so she scared them and then returned to her hotel. Madam, you're back. Red-eyebrowed monster said. I'm back. Things went well. Madame of Bones giggled and said, that idiot girl really thought that I gave her some broken love incense. She didn't expect that it was our specially refined 8 treasures Joss incense. Red-eyebrowed monster said, Madam, I think it's too troublesome. There are only a few little guys. Let's just go and kill them. Husband, you're still so simple and rude. Madame of Bones winked at red-eyebrowed monster and said, of course, I have my reasons for doing this. Our left and right protectors died in a strange way. I don't know what special methods Feng Wu and Qin Haodong used. If we act rashly, we may suffer losses. So we should outsmart them. Now I'll use a little trick. Not only can I get rid of these two little guys, but I can also ruin the Zihang sword house. Red-eyebrowed monster reached out and pulled Madame of Bones into his arms. He said with a smile, my wife is so resourceful. Tell me, how did you ruin the reputation of the Zihang sword house? Madame of Bones said, although the women of the Zihang sword house are like saints all day long, in fact, we know very well that it's not that they don't want men, but that they can't find men because of their special cultivation methods. Hundreds of years ago, an elder of our Devil Gate kidnapped a female disciple of the Zihang sword house and forced himself to sleep with her. As a result, not only was the elder sucked dry, but the female disciple of the Zihang sword house also exploded and died. This shows that the women of the Zihang sword house can't touch men at all. I just lied to that idiot girl and asked her to use the 8 treasures Joss incense on Qin Haodong and Feng Wu. I don't need to tell you the result, do I? Speaking of this, she giggled again. Red-eyebrowed monster suddenly realized and said, I understand. The result is that the boy surnamed Qin was sucked dry, and the young master of the Zihang sword house exploded and died. In this way, we didn't need to do anything to deal with the two strong enemies. No matter how powerful they are, they can't use them. Madam, you are so smart. Come on, let's celebrate. As he spoke, he reached out to touch Madame of Bones' chest. What's the hurry? Madame of Bones slapped red-eyebrowed monster away and said, it's almost time. Let's go to Qin Haodong's house and see how it goes. I heard that Qin Haodong has a lot of women, and all of them are the best. We can take them all to our Hehuan sect. Red-eyebrowed monster's eyes lit up when he heard that there were beautiful women. Madam, what are we waiting for? Let's go. Qin Haodong came to Feng Wu's room and told her what Li Meiyu had just said. Then he said, it's really not easy for this little vinegar jar to apologize. Come with me and have a look. Don't let her down. Feng Wu said, it's enough that she has such thoughts. She really doesn't need to give me a gift. She has already bought it and sent it here. You have to go and have a try. Qin Haodong said as he pulled Feng Wu back to his room. After entering the door, he did not see Li Meiyu. Hey, where did she go? As Qin Haodong spoke, he found a note on the bedside table. He picked it up and took a look. It was left by Li Meiyu. The gist of the note was that she felt embarrassed to face Feng Wu, so she asked Qin Haodong to let Feng Wu try on these clothes. If they didn't fit, she could change them tomorrow. When did this last become so shy? Qin Haodong shook his head and turned to Feng Wu. Then try them on. I think the clothes Meiyu bought are not bad. Okay then. Feng Wu hesitated for a moment and closed the door. She picked up a green dress from the clothes Li Meiyu had bought and said to Qin Haodong shyly, Sacred Master, would you like to turn around? Chapter 602. Oh. Qin Haodong answered and turned around. Feng Wu bit her lip gently. She was still a little embarrassed to change her clothes in front of a man. If it weren't for the engagement between them and if Qin Haodong wasn't her sacred master, she really wouldn't be able to do it. After hesitating for a moment, she slowly took off her coat. She had just been ready to sleep, so she didn't wear any underwear. She only wore a pair of black lace underwear. Her smooth skin was exposed to the air. Feeling a burst of heat on her cheeks, Feng Wu quickly put on the long dress. It's done. Look, do you like it? Qin Haodong turned around and looked at Feng Wu. It was a slim green dress. It had to be said that Li Meiyu had a very high aesthetic taste. The clothes she bought were also very beautiful. Not only were the sizes very suitable, but the temperament was also very compatible with Feng Wu. It looked elegant and beautiful. He sincerely praised, "Not bad, it's very beautiful." "Really? Then I'll try this one again." Feng Wu was overjoyed to be praised by the sacred master. As a woman, it was natural to love beauty. Even if she was an expert at the 8th level of the supreme power realm, even if she was the young master of the Zihang sword house, she was still a woman. She asked Qin Haodong to turn around again, then she took another t-shirt and tried it on. During the process of changing clothes, she felt that her body was getting hotter and hotter, but Feng Wu didn't care too much. She thought it was because she was shy in front of Qin Haodong. Although Qin Haodong had his back to Feng Wu, he still felt itchy when he heard the rustling sound of clothes. Unconsciously, his lower abdomen was getting hotter and hotter, and there was a feeling of restlessness. He couldn't help shaking his head secretly. He was also a person who had seen many beautiful women, and he had even seen Zhou Xinju's underwear show. How could he become like this when he had his back to a woman? He was really getting more and more useless. After trying on a few clothes in succession, Feng Wu felt that she was really getting hotter and hotter. She wanted to tear off all her clothes and throw herself into Qin Haodong's arms. She had grown up in the Zihang sword house and had never had a boyfriend. Naturally, she did not understand what was going on. The feeling was getting stronger and stronger, and she could not bear it. With his back to Feng Wu, Qin Haodong felt more and more complicated. There was always a voice in his head talking to him, "This is your woman. You have an engagement with her. She is so beautiful. Why don't you push her down? This is such a good opportunity. If you don't do anything, wouldn't you be worse than a beast?" At the same time, his body was getting hotter and hotter, and the reaction there was getting more and more intense. Trying his best to control his restlessness, he waited for Feng Wu to finish trying on all the clothes so that he could take a cold shower to calm himself down. But after waiting for a long time, there was still no movement from Feng Wu. He couldn't help but feel a little curious. Did it take so long to change clothes? Just as he was about to ask, he felt a scorching hot body press against him. He turned around to see Feng Wu blushing. Blushing, she looked at him with a seductive gleam in her eyes. Worst of all, Feng Wu had just taken off all the clothes she had tried on, and all she had on was her little black underwear. The sight of her was like a storm that ravaged his eyes. Qin Haodong was a little surprised. He didn't expect Feng Wu, who was usually so pure and holy, to be like this. Before he could speak, Feng Wu threw herself into his arms and pressed her soft lips on his. "Hurry up and take her to bed. She has sent herself to us. If you don't do something, are you still a man? Hurry up and don't hold back anymore. She is your woman and you are engaged. There is nothing to worry about. Man. You are a man. Such a beautiful woman, quickly push her down." Driven by an inexplicable force, Qin Haodong could no longer control himself. He suddenly picked up Feng Wu and threw himself on the big bed behind him. After a fierce kiss, the two of them became one. At this moment, the genuine qi in Qin Haodong's body seemed to encounter a huge suction force, and it kept flowing into Feng Wu's body. This change startled him, and he came to his senses a little. Thinking of what Feng Wu had said about the dual cultivation method, he hurriedly changed the eternal green wood skill to the Shenyuan heart skill and ran the genuine qi in his body. Originally, his green wood genuine qi disappeared as soon as it entered Feng Wu's body, but after it was converted to the Shenyuan heart skill, it became completely different. Not only did it not dissipate, but it also merged with Feng Wu's genuine qi and became stronger. The two of them used the dual cultivation method, which was of the same origin. After the merged genuine qi circulated in Feng Wu's body for a large circle, it began to flow backward into Qin Haodong's body. That was to say, the two of them were now combined into one, forming a unique large circle. Feng Wu's cultivation had originally reached the 8th level of the supreme power realm, and after the fusion, her genuine qi became even stronger. Fortunately, Qin Haodong's body had been nourished by the green wood genuine qi all year round, so his meridians were not only wide but also extremely tough. If it were anyone else, they would definitely explode from the genuine qi when there was such a big gap between their cultivations. He concentrated his spirit and qi and ran it according to the Shenyuan heart skill. His body gradually adapted to the change of the genuine qi, and an extremely powerful feeling arose spontaneously. Qin Haodong knew that this powerful feeling was real and not an illusion. In the state of dual cultivation, he did have the power of the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Although his real cultivation was still at the early stage of the Gold Core Realm, which was equivalent to the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm, he could completely borrow Feng Wu's power for his own use. This made his heart skip a beat. If he joined forces with Feng Wu in the future and their genuine qi were interconnected, it would be equivalent to having 2 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Moreover, after their fusion, their genuine qi was extremely powerful, much more powerful than that of an ordinary 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. This idea made him extremely excited. After the dual cultivation was over, he really wanted to try it to see if it could achieve the desired effect. The genuine qi circulated back and forth in their bodies. Every time it ran a large circle, it would become much stronger. It had to be said that this was an extremely superior dual cultivation method. With this method, their cultivation improved rapidly. About half an hour later, the true qi had circulated thrice in their bodies, filling up their meridians to the brim. Moreover, the true qi was increasing with every passing moment. Qin Haodong was delighted. He knew very well what was going on. It meant that Feng Wu had touched the bottleneck of the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm and was about to break through. While calming his mind, he kept running the genuine qi into Feng Wu's body. The genuine qi was getting more and more abundant, as if it was eager to find a breakthrough point to vent. There seemed to be an invisible force binding their genuine qi, and the two forces were constantly fighting. This kind of genuine qi gave them a very strange feeling. When it was in Feng Wu's body, it became restless and frantically attacked the invisible force. But when it returned to Qin Haodong's body, it became extremely peaceful, as if it was seizing the time to replenish its energy. The cycle went back and forth, advancing and retreating. After an unknown amount of time, a sudden explosion resounded in the minds of the two. Following that, the Jinqi found an opening and gushed out like a great river. At the same time, a powerful momentum burst out of their bodies, like a storm sweeping through the room. The huge air wave shattered the furniture in the room, and then the glass was broken, and they roared out of the window. She broke through. The two of them were ecstatic at the same time. After this dual cultivation, Feng Wu had finally broken through the bottleneck of the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm and reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. The dual cultivation method passed down by the Yellow Emperor and Mother Lei was indeed extraordinary. Outside the villa, Red-Eyebrowed Monster and Madame of Bones were hiding in the darkness. With their cultivation, they were not worried about being discovered by Saber and the others. Looking at the quiet villa in front of him, Red-Eyebrowed Monster said, "We've been waiting for so long. Why is there still no movement? Madam, is it because that little girl didn't use the 8 treasure joss stick you gave her, or is it ineffective?" Madame of Bones said, "That's impossible. That little girl is very anxious. After getting the joss stick, there is no reason not to use it. Moreover, this 8 treasure joss stick was personally refined by me. I used many precious materials and its effect is extremely powerful. Even if the other party is an immortal, he will fall to the mortal world after eating it." Red-Eyebrowed Monster said, "But we've been waiting for a long time. If we continue to wait like this, it will be dawn. Why don't we directly kill them?" Madame of Bones said with a smile, "Husband, you're always so anxious. You don't have any patience at all. Let's wait and see. My carefully planned method will not fail." At this moment, there was a loud bang and the window of Qin Haodong's room was smashed by the huge air wave. Ha! 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 Finally! Red-Eyebrowed Monster said excitedly, "Madam, you're really smart. Feng Wu must have sucked that guy dry and now his body exploded. I knew it. These two little guys can't escape from me. Madame of Bones said proudly, now it's time for us to pick the fruits. Take the remaining women back and replenish the strength of our Hehuan sect. After that, the two of them walked out of the dark, and then Black Wind jumped out with 20 disciples of the Hehuan sect. Madame of Bones pointed to the exploded window and said to Black Wind, go and see how Qin Haodong and Feng Wu are doing. Have they been blown to pieces? Yes, madam. Black Wind answered. Then he floated up like a ghost and floated toward Qin Haodong's window. But as soon as he came to the window, before he could see clearly outside, a golden light suddenly flashed and a huge golden sword appeared in front of him. Oh no! A huge sense of crisis rose from the bottom of Black Wind's heart. He quickly mobilized all the genuine qi in his body and tried his best to hit out with his palm. He used the Black Wind palm, which was considered a superior cultivation method in the entire Devil Gate. Unfortunately, it was still too weak compared with the sword light in front of him. He was sent flying by the powerful sword light and his body had been cut in half in the air. He didn't even have time to scream. Chapter 603. When the disciples of the Hehuan sect saw that their leader had been killed by Qin Haodong in one move, they knew that they had met a ruthless person, so they immediately stopped. After Qin Haodong killed Black Wind with one move, he and Feng Wu floated down from the window hand in hand. Now he had confirmed his guess. As long as his body was connected to Feng Wu's, their genuine qi could be exchanged, and both of them would have the strength of a 9th-level Supreme Power Master. After such a big noise, all the people in the building were alarmed and ran out one after another. The 6 members of the Divine Mercenaries turned pale with fright. Their duty was to protect the safety of the villa, but suddenly there were so many men in black. This was their dereliction of duty. Saber waved his hand and several people were about to rush up, but Qin Haodong stopped them. Stop, these two are both 9th-level Supreme Power Masters. You are no match for them. Hearing Qin Haodong's words, Saber and the others hurriedly stopped. A 9th-level Supreme Power Master was not someone they could deal with now. They might not even be able to take one move. Seeing that Qin Haodong had directly seen through her cultivation, Madame of Bones giggled and said, handsome boy, I didn't expect you to have such good eyesight. I don't know if you're good in bed. Why don't you play with me? I promise I'll let you know what a top-grade woman is. At this time, Li Meiyu ran out of the building. When she saw Madame of Bones, she exclaimed, are you Sister Bai? Madame of Bones said with a smile, it's me, jealous little girl. You seem to have disappointed Sister Bai. You took my 8 treasures Joss stick, but it didn't achieve the effect I wanted. That Joss stick is very expensive. 8 treasure Joss stick. Qin Haodong and Feng Wu looked at each other and immediately understood what had just happened. No wonder they couldn't control their desires. It turned out that this was the problem. Li Meiyu pointed at Qin Haodong and Feng Wu, who were holding hands, and shouted angrily, you lied to me. Didn't you tell me that it's called Broken Love Joss Stick? You can break them up after using it, but look at them now. They are even better than before. Madame of Bones smiled and said, little girl, why are you so serious? There are plenty of men if you want. Come to me. Our Hehuan sect has a lot of handsome and strong men. I guarantee that you will feel like dying. *tch, I'll kill you. In anger, Li Meiyu was about to rush to Madame of Bones, but she was pulled back by Nalan Wushuang next to her. At this time, it was simply courting death. Qin Haodong took Feng Wu 2 steps forward and said, are you Madame of Bones and Red-Eyebrowed Monster, the master of the Hehuan sect? That's us. Madame of Bones glanced at them and said, Feng Wu, the young master of the Zihang Sword House, didn't you say that the women of your sword house can't find men? Madame of Sword Sect, Madame of Bones said, Madame of Bones of Wu. Feng Wu said, I have to thank Madame of Bones for her help. If it weren't for your 8 treasure Joss stick, Haodong and I wouldn't have come this far. Qin Haodong smiled and said, from this point of view, you are our matchmaker. We should thank you properly. Madame of Bones stopped smiling and gritted her teeth as she looked at the rosy cheeks. In and in. Feng Yan's Fu. In, Wu. Madam. In. Bye. You've obviously lost your virginity. Why are you still alive? After all, Feng Wu had just experienced her first time. She was extremely shy after being exposed by Madame of Bones. Qin Haodong instantly understood the purpose of Madame of Bones. It turned out that this woman had been hiding in the dark to plot against him. She wanted to use the Joss of Shui to make him sleep with Feng Wu. Then he would be sucked dry and Feng Wu would explode. However, she had never dreamed that he was the sacred master that the Zihang sword house had been looking for thousands of years. Others could not touch the women of the Zihang sword house, but he could, and he had benefited a lot. He said with a smile, Sect Master of White Bones, thank you for helping me and Feng Wu. Without your help, we wouldn't have been able to break through to the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. If you had brought people here directly, we wouldn't have been able to stop the 2 9th level Supreme Power Masters. But it's too late now. You have 2 9th level masters, and so do we. What do you think? Do you regret it? Madame of Bones said with a cold face, you're bluffing. Do you think the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm is child's play? Do you think you can break through so easily? Whether it was the Devil Gate or the Zihang Sword House, the 9th level Supreme Power Masters were the top existences. They were either the masters of a sect or the elders of a sect. Therefore, she did not believe that the 2 young people in front of her had reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Feng Wu said, whether it's true or not, we'll know after we try. Red-Eyebrowed Monster shouted, let's try. Since the women of the Zihang sword house can sleep with me, I'll take you back today and let you have a taste of what it means to be in heaven and to die. He reached out and took a wide long sword from his back. With a shake of his wrist, he stabbed at Feng Wu. Madame of Bones had been cultivating with him for many years. The 2 of them had a tacit understanding of each other. When Red-Eyebrowed Monster attacked, she also waved a thin sword in her hand and attacked Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong shook his wrist and the Xian Yuan sword turned into a golden light all over the sky. Madame of Bones's thin sword was also a treasure sword, but it was no match for the Xian Yuan sword. As soon as the 2 swords touched each other, there was a cracking sound and the tip of the sword was cut off. Madame of Bones's expression changed greatly. This sword had been with her for many years. Although it could not cut iron like mud, it was extremely sharp. She did not expect that a part of it would be cut off as soon as she attacked. What shocked her even more was Qin Haodong's cultivation. He was not at a disadvantage in the collision of genuine qi just now. He was a real 9th level Supreme Power Master and was not inferior to her at all. It seemed that he was not lying. Looking at Feng Wu over there, she was not at a disadvantage in the fight with Red-Eyebrowed Monster at all. It seemed that she had also entered the threshold of the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. The facts were right in front of her, so she had to believe what Qin Haodong said was true. She was too smart for her own good. Not only did she fail to plot against him, but she also helped him a lot. At this time, she was so regretful. If she had known that this would happen, she would have brought people to kill them directly. Why did she have to go through so much trouble and not take advantage of him at all? In anger and shame, she waved the sword in her hand and attacked Qin Haodong crazily. So they fought together. 4 people were at the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Their powerful qi collided and from time to time, a gust of wind swept up in the courtyard. While they were fighting, the others were not idle. Qin Haodong and Feng Wu were entangled with Madame of Bones and Red-Eyebrowed Monster. Qi Wan, who had just broken through to the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm, led the others to kill the disciples of the Hehuan sect. Lin Momo watched the battle with the little fellow in her arms. The 20 disciples of the Hehuan sect were only at the covert power realm. Black Wind, the only level 3 Supreme Power Master, had been split in half by Qin Haodong. The rest of them were no match for Qin Haodong. Soon, they were all killed and injured. On Qin Haodong's side, the 4 of them were engaged in double cultivation against double cultivation, and the 9th level against the 9th level. Although he and Feng Wu had just entered the threshold of the 9th level, their genuine qi was not inferior to that of Red-Eyebrowed Monster and Madam of Bones. They even had a certain advantage. However, after all, Madam of Bones and Feng Wu had been famous for many years. They were experienced 9th level Supreme Power Masters, and their cooperation with each other was extremely tacit. Because of this, the two sides were evenly matched at the beginning. But as time went on, Qin Haodong and Feng Wu's cooperation became more and more tacit. The Xian Yuan sword and the Leimu sword flew up and down, while the swords in the hands of Red-Eyebrowed Monster and Madam of Bones did not dare to touch them. They suffered a great loss and were slowly suppressed. After fighting for more than a dozen rounds, Qin Haodong unexpectedly used a flying sword. The Xian Yuan sword pierced a hole in Madam of Bones' left shoulder and blood flowed out. Red-Eyebrowed Monster waved his sword and attacked wildly. The two of them barely managed to stabilize their position. Madam of Bones raised her hand and pressed several acupoints on her shoulder. She shouted to the darkness beside her, "Old Zhang, why don't you come out? Can't you see that I'm injured? If you don't come and help me, I'll cut you up when we get back." Qin Haodong frowned slightly. No wonder he always had a sense of crisis in his heart. It turned out that they had a helper hiding in the dark. This person was definitely a master who could not be detected by his primordial spirit. Red-Eyebrowed Monster, Madam of Bones, I told you to practice more martial arts on a daily basis. Don't sleep with each other when you have nothing to do. Now, you can't even beat 2 young people. You even have to trouble me to come and help you. As he spoke, an old man came out of the darkness. He was dressed in a cyan robe and his hair and beard were all white. He looked old, but his face was very ruddy and he was holding a flute in his hand. Feng Wu took Qin Haodong back a few steps and cried out involuntarily, "Venerable magic flute, Xiao Luochen." The old man laughed and said, "I didn't expect that after so many years of not coming out, someone would still recognize me." Qin Haodong looked at Xiao Luochen. This old man was also a 9th level Supreme Power Master, and his cultivation was a bit stronger than that of Madam of Bones and Red-Eyebrowed Monster. Feng Wu said in a low voice, "Among the 7 sects of the Devil Gate, he is the sect master of the mysterious soul sect. He is best at using flute music to confuse people's souls." Qin Haodong secretly rejoiced. He did not expect that the Devil Gate would send out 3 9th level Supreme Power Masters at once this time. If he and Feng Wu had not completed the double cultivation and reached the 9th level Supreme Power realm, they would not have been able to deal with them. Xiao Luochen glanced at them and said proudly, "Since I've made a move, you should surrender quickly, lest we hurt each other." Feng Wu said, "If you have the ability, take it out. There's no need to be friendly with the remnants of the Devil Gate." Xiao Luochen's expression changed. "Little girl, you're courting death. Don't think that you can look down on us old guys just because you've reached the 9th level realm. In fact, you're still far behind." Madam of Bones said, "Old thing, you're so hesitant when you see a beautiful woman. Hurry up and do it. What are you waiting for?" Red-Eyebrowed Monster said with hatred, "If we kill her, there will be no successor for the Zihang Sword House. Let's see how they can fight against our Devil Gate. Don't worry, they can't run away. Now I'll let them taste the power of my demonic sound." Xiao Luochen said as he put the flute in his hand to his mouth and blew it gently. A string of strange notes came out. Chapter 604. The sound of the flute was not loud, but it seemed to be able to drill into everyone's ears, enter everyone's soul, and control people's minds. Qin Haodong realized that this was an attack on people's souls. With the agitation of his spirit, he immediately got rid of this feeling. With the power of his spirit, it was impossible to control his mind. Feng Wu was very familiar with the cultivation methods of the devil cult. When the sound of the flute sounded, she immediately shouted, "It's the demonic sound controlling the soul. Hurry up and seal your 6 senses, or you will be controlled by him." However, it was too late. Except for Qin Haodong and Feng Wu, who were not afraid of the demonic sound, everyone else's eyes flashed with confusion and they lost their clarity. Qin Haodong realized the seriousness of the matter. If Xiao Luochen controlled everyone present, the consequences would be unimaginable. He said in a low voice, "Is there any way to break his demonic sound?" Feng Wu said, "Make him stop or kill him." "Let's do it." The two of them moved and rushed towards Xiao Luochen hand in hand. However, red-eyebrowed monster and Madam of Bones seemed to have been prepared. They waved the swords in their hands and blocked their way. Qin Haodong drove the Xian Yuan sword and tried his best to rush over. Unfortunately, the other party was the sect master of the Hehuan sect and a veteran 9th-level supreme power master. It was not possible to win in a short time. He was attacking red-eyebrowed monster with all his strength. Suddenly, a strong wind came and someone was attacking him from behind. He turned back and slashed with his sword. When he saw the person's face clearly, he was scared out of his wits. It was Nalan Wushuang who attacked him. Qin Haodong quickly raised his wrist and the Xian Yuan sword swept over Nalan Wushuang's head, almost killing her on the spot. But at this time, Nalan Wushuang's mind had been completely controlled by the demonic sound. There was only one thought in her mind, which was to kill the person in front of her. She slapped Qin Haodong's shoulder without reservation. Fortunately, her cultivation was not too high and she had not reached the supreme power realm, so this palm did not cause much damage. On the other side, Qi Wan had already waved the sword in her hand to kill Feng Wu. Qin Haodong hurriedly shouted, "Don't hurt her." Feng Wu also knew that these were the most important people in Qin Haodong's life. Relying on her strong genuine qi, she shook off Qi Weiner's sword and then pushed her away. Seeing all this, Madam of Bones smiled and said, "It seems that we don't have to do anything. Let's just watch the show from the side." She and red-eyebrowed monster retreated, but Qin Haodong and Feng Wu were besieged. The worst thing was that they were attacked by their own people. Lin Momo, the divine mercenaries, Qi Wan, and Nalan Wushuang all attacked them crazily. Even the little fellow picked up a knife from the side and waved it at them. Qin Haodong was about to go crazy. When he and Feng Wu joined forces, their cultivation was strong enough. Even if they faced 3 9th-level supreme power masters, they would still be able to fight. However, they were all his closest friends, so he couldn't hurt any of them. He had to be careful when he attacked, and he could only repel the enemy but not injure the enemy. With his hands and feet tied, he couldn't even bring out 1/10 of his combat strength. For a time, he was beaten to the point of being flustered and in danger. "It's really interesting to fight against our own people." Madam of Bones said, "Fortunately, I was careful this time and asked Zhang to come. Otherwise, it would be really troublesome." Red-eyebrowed monster said with a smile, "Do you think they will run away?" With Qin Haodong and Feng Wu's cultivation, it was very easy for them to break out of the encirclement. Madam of Bones said with a smile, "I guess not. Even if they run away, it doesn't matter. So many beautiful women will be left to our Hehuan sect. We will definitely make a profit." Qin Haodong's side was getting more and more difficult. The others were easier to deal with, but Lin Momo, who had reached the 4th level of the Supreme Power Realm, and Qi Wan, who was at the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm, brought them great trouble. If the other party was an enemy, it would be very easy. He could kill them with one sword strike, but now they were both his most beloved women. He could not hurt them even if he was injured. Up to now, his body had been cut by 6 or 7 swords, and Feng Wu had also been stabbed 3 or 4 times. Fortunately, their genuine qi was strong, so these were all superficial wounds. Moreover, Qin Haodong found that their genuine qi had a strong healing ability in the state of dual cultivation, which was even better than the healing effect of the green wood genuine qi. Under the operation of the genuine qi, the bleeding soon stopped and the wounds began to heal slowly. But it was not the way to go on like this. Feng Wu had already put away the Leimu sword. After pushing Lin Momo back with a palm, she said, "Haodong, we can't go on like this. Why don't we rush out first?" Qin Haodong's eyes were blood red and he shouted in a hoarse voice, "No, they are all my dearest people. I can't leave them to these evildoers of the Hehuan sect." Feng Wu said, "But we can't go on like this. We will be killed sooner or later." Qin Haodong said, "You go first. I'll stay here alone." "How is that possible? I can't leave you alone." Now Qin Haodong was not only Feng Wu's man, but also the sacred master of the Zihang sword house. How could she leave Qin Haodong alone? While they were talking, Qin Haodong's left arm was pierced by Qi Weiner's long sword. The long sword was pulled out and blood gushed out. At this time, Qi Weiner had completely lost her mind. She was unaware of what was happening in front of her. She once again waved the bloody sword to kill them. "Haodong." Feng Wu hurriedly came back to protect Qin Haodong. She pushed back the long saber that was rushing over with a palm. Because she was distracted, her left back was cut by Lin Momo's long sword. Madame of Bones giggled and said, "It seems that they can't hold on for long." Red-Eyebrowed Monster also laughed sinisterly and said, "Old Monster Zhang's method is too cruel. He asked them to fight with their own people, but I like this method." But at this moment, a clanging sound suddenly rang out. The sound was clear and sweet, as if it could cleanse people's hearts. It instantly broke through Xiao Luochen's demonic sound. Without the momentum of the demonic sound, Lin Momo and the others immediately stopped attacking Qin Haodong and Feng Wu. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief and turned his head to look. He saw Jia Shihan sitting on the grass next to him with the 7-string zither in front of her. She was proficient in music and could resist Xiao Luochen's demonic sound. Unfortunately, her cultivation was sealed now. She suffered internal injuries and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Qin Haodong's eyes lit up when he finally found a way to resist the demonic sound. "Let's go and help her." He and Feng Wu took advantage of this gap to jump up and jump behind Jia Shihan. Qin Haodong stretched out his right hand and put it on the Mingmen acupoint on Jia Shihan's back. Then, he passed his genuine qi over. Soon, he found that the meridians in Jia Shihan's body were wide and his genuine qi was running freely without any rejection, as if Jia Shihan had cultivated it herself. With the help of genuine qi, Jia Shihan's zither sound instantly became high-pitched. The melodious sound of the zither suppressed Xiao Luochen's flute sound. Madame of Bones' expression changed drastically. The wisdom of heart cleansing spell of the Insha sect? Who is this woman? How can she know the wisdom of heart cleansing spell? Is she from the Insha sect? But why are the people of the Insha sect so weak? They don't have any cultivation at all. Red-Eyebrowed Monster shouted, "No matter who she is, just kill her first." Everything in the world reinforced and restrained each other. The zither sound played by Jia Shihan seemed to be the natural nemesis of Xiao Luochen, suppressing him. Lin Momo and the others stood there stiffly, no longer driven by the demonic sound. The confusion in their eyes slowly dissipated, and they gradually regained their clarity. Although they had not fully recovered their consciousness, it was only a matter of time. Seeing this clearly, Madame of Bones and Red-Eyebrowed Monster once again attacked the three people sitting cross-legged on the ground. Originally, Qin Haodong and Feng Wu were not afraid of these two people, but unfortunately, the current situation was extremely passive. They sat on the ground and could not move. Qin Haodong had an idea. He stretched out one foot and put it on Jia Shihan's Mingmen acupoint to ensure the input of genuine qi. He used one arm to control the Xian Yuan sword to fight against the enemy. Even so, they were completely in a passive state of defense, and their combat effectiveness was naturally greatly reduced. They could only rely on the sharpness of the Xian Yuan sword and the Leimu sword to barely protect themselves. Madame of Bones and Red-Eyebrowed Monster were both old monsters who had lived for nearly 100 years. They soon found the flaws of the three of them. Red-Eyebrowed Monster entangled Feng Wu, while Madame of Bones used the long sword in her right hand to divert Qin Haodong's Xian Yuan sword. She slapped Jia Shihan's back with her left hand. She knew very well that as long as she killed this woman who could play the Prajna mind-clearing incantation, everything would return to the previous state. At that time, Qin Haodong and Feng Wu could only wait for death. Qin Haodong's Xian Yuan sword in his right hand was too late to save her. His left hand was holding Feng Wu's right hand, so he was unable to help at all. Seeing that the girl was about to die, he rushed forward in a hurry and blocked the palm for Jia Shihan. Madame of Bones was different from Lin Momo and the others. She was a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, and she used all her strength in this palm. It was like the wind and thunder of the 9th heaven, smashing Qin Haodong's back with the momentum of crushing everything. Qin Haodong and Feng Wu were in the state of dual cultivation. Although their genuine qi was strong, they could not block this earth-shattering blow. He felt as if his entire internal organs had been shattered. He spat a mouthful of blood on the back of Jia Shihan's neck, then slowly fell to one side and fell into a coma. Haodong. Feng Wu let out a sorrowful cry. The Leimu sword in her hand crazily swept toward Madame of Bones and Red-Eyebrowed Monster. She did not defend at all, only attacked crazily. Madame of Bones and Red-Eyebrowed Monster did not want to fight Feng Wu to the death. After succeeding in one move, they immediately retreated. Feeling the warmth on her neck and the strong smell of blood, Jia Shihan realized what had happened. She stopped playing and slowly turned around. When she saw Qin Haodong lying on the ground, endless sadness quickly filled her whole body. "Brother," with a soft cry, 2 lines of clear tears flowed down her cheeks. She did not know when she had fallen deeply in love with this man. For this man, she could give up everything, even her life. Because of this, she desperately fought against Xiao Luochen, the venerable of magic sound, in order to save Qin Haodong. But now this man had blocked a fatal blow for her. She did not know whether he was dead or alive, which made her heart ache. Crack, she seemed to have heard the sound of her heart breaking. No, it was not the sound of her heart breaking, but the seal in her body breaking. Then, a powerful force suddenly burst out from her body. Chapter 605. Jia Shihan squatted down, gently stroked Qin Haodong's pale cheek with her palm, and helped him wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. She was a pure girl, as pure as a piece of white paper. This was the first time she had touched her feelings and tasted the taste of first love. Now that the person she loved the most had suffered such a serious injury, her heart was filled with grievances, hatred, anger, sadness, and all kinds of negative emotions. She wanted to vent, take revenge, and kill. All kinds of negative emotions mixed together and finally turned into monstrous killing intent, instantly breaking through the seal that locked her cultivation. Ah! Jia Shihan stood up and let out an angry roar. Her thin body erupted with a powerful force, and her momentum soared like a rocket. The first level of the Supreme Power Realm, the second level of the Supreme Power Realm. In the blink of an eye, she had reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. If Qin Haodong were awake, he would be greatly shocked. He would never have dreamed that the little girl he had picked up was actually at the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. And this was not the end. Jia Shihan's momentum was still rising rapidly, seeking a stronger breakthrough. The surrounding qi of heaven and earth seemed to have been sucked in by a huge force and rushed into her body. Madame of Bones and Red-Eyebrowed Monster were stunned. Powerful. She was really too powerful. They had never expected that this little girl would turn out to be a hidden master. They had only seen this kind of cultivation and momentum from the sect leader of the heavenly demon sect. Xiao Luochen also stopped playing and looked at Jia Shihan with a face full of fear. Then he cried out in surprise, "Saint, this is a saint! Run!" After shouting, he turned around and was about to escape, but it was too late. How could the angry Jia Shirhan let go of the culprit? She stretched out her hand and the 7-stringed zither flew directly into her hand. Jia Shirhan held the zither in her left hand and played it gently with her right hand. The melodious sound of the zither immediately brought endless qi of heaven and earth and turned into a huge spear, shooting towards Xiao Luochen with endless pressure. Xiao Luochen was shocked and quickly raised the bone flute in his hand to play. The notes turned into a solid shield, trying to block the spear. However, at this time, Jia Shirhan was really too powerful. This spear was like a peerless divine weapon, which was not something that the shield could contend with at all. As soon as the spear and the shield came into contact, the shield shattered into pieces and scattered into the air. At the same time, the flute in Xiao Luochen's hand was also shattered. This flute was originally a spiritual weapon, but unfortunately, it could not withstand Jia Shirhan's attack. Under the raging qi of heaven and earth, it turned into a pile of dust in the blink of an eye. After the spear broke through the shield, its speed did not slow down at all. It directly tore through Xiao Luochen's protective genuine qi and opened a bloody hole in his right chest. Ah! Xiao Luochen let out a heart-wrenching scream. In the face of the godlike Jia Shirhan, he completely lost the courage to fight. He used his last life-saving trick and instantly turned into a cloud of blood mist and disappeared into the night. Seeing that venerable flute was defeated in one move, Madam of Bones and Red-Eyebrowed Monster were so scared that they almost peed their pants. They turned around and ran. Jia Shirhan flicked her fingers again, and strings of notes turned into an overwhelming sword rain that shot toward the two of them. Madam of Bones and Red-Eyebrowed Monster were shocked. They hugged each other fiercely and used the life-saving secret skill of the Devil Gate, the blood escape skill, at the cost of their vitality. They turned into a blood shadow and fled into the distance. After driving away the strong enemy, Jia Shirhan flicked the mind-clearing incantation again. This time, driven by her powerful cultivation, Lin Momo and the others instantly regained consciousness. Seeing that the crisis had been resolved, Feng Wu put away the Leimu's sword, picked up Qin Haodong, and rushed back to her room. She asked Qin Haodong to sit cross-legged, and then put her hands on her back. She transferred the genuine qi in her body to him as if it was free. Madam of Bones's palm just now had really frightened her. The full blow of a level 9 Supreme Power Master was extremely powerful. She did not know how serious Qin Haodong's injury was. It was not until her genuine qi merged with Qin Haodong's and formed a great circle of circulation that she was finally relieved. As long as the genuine qi could be circulated, it meant that the injury was still within the scope of being saved. Madam of Bones's palm was indeed very heavy. Fortunately, Qin Haodong had reached the primary level of the greenwood longevity body after forming the gold core, so the blow did not kill him. However, he had suffered a very serious internal injury. Under the treatment of the genuine qi of dual cultivation, Qin Haodong's injury recovered little by little. About 2 hours later, he slowly woke up. He opened his eyes and saw Lin Momo, Qi Wan, and Nalan Wushuang looking at him with concern. It was as if they were afraid of disturbing his recovery. They were all silent, and even the little fellow was sitting obediently in Lin Momo's arms. "He's awake, Papa is awake." The little fellow was the first to cry out excitedly. Lin Momo choked with sobs and said, "Haodong, you're finally awake. You scared us to death." Qi Wan said with tears in her eyes, "Haodong, I'm sorry. We hurt you." Although the others did not speak, they all looked guilty. Qin Haodong forced a smile and said, "It doesn't matter. You were affected by the demonic sound. It was not intentional. Besides, I'm fine now. Let bygones be bygones. Don't take it to heart." Lin Momo nodded and said, "Then take good care of yourself. We'll go out first." Seeing that Qin Haodong was safe and sound, these people were relieved. Otherwise, they would feel guilty for the rest of their lives. After they left, Li Meiyu came over. She lowered her head and said guiltily, "I'm sorry." Qin Haodong said, "You don't have to say sorry. We have to thank you for this. If you hadn't brought back the incense, we might have all died." That was indeed the case. Last night, he and Feng Wu had completed the dual cultivation by chance, so their cultivation had been raised to the 9th level. Otherwise, they would not have been able to deal with the revenge of the Hehuan sect. But, after all, there was still a trace of uneasiness in Li Meiyu's heart. After hesitating for a moment, she said, "Take good care of yourself first. We'll talk about it when you recover." After that, she also went out. Jia Shihan came over. At this time, her momentum had been completely restrained. She was no longer an awe-inspiring saint. She had become a pure and ignorant little girl again. Jia Shihan said in a low voice, "Brother, thank you for saving me." Qin Haodong said, "I should thank you. You saved all of us. If you hadn't taken action in time, we really wouldn't have been able to deal with the demonic sound." Jia Shihan still said apologetically, "It's all my fault. If I had broken the seal earlier, you wouldn't have been injured." Qin Haodong said in surprise, "You broke the seal?" He was in a coma at that time, so he did not see Jia Shihan break the seal and enter the saint realm. He did not know how Madame of Bones and the others retreated. "Yes." Jia Shihan nodded, but there was not much joy in her expression. Feng Wu said, "Haodong, Sister Shihan is now a saint. She is really amazing. She is the youngest saint I have ever seen." Qin Haodong said, "Shihan, I really have to congratulate you. I didn't expect your cultivation to be so high. Before I was sealed, my master once said that I would either become a saint or be an ordinary person for the rest of my life. However, it was very difficult to become a saint. There were thousands of martial artists in the world, but there were very few who could become a saint. Master said that I would become a saint the day I broke the seal. But if I wanted to break the seal, I needed to find my own opportunity. That's why he asked me to go out of the sect to gain experience. I was very lucky. I met you soon after I went down the mountain. You are my opportunity. If I hadn't met you, I'm afraid I would not have been able to break this seal in this life." Qin Haodong said, "It's your own effort to break through. It has nothing to do with us. Even if you didn't meet me, you would still be able to break the seal." Jia Shihan was silent for a while. Her cultivation method was based on music. Because of her talent, she had already reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm before she went down the mountain. However, her master said that it was already the limit to reach this realm by relying on talent alone. To enter the Tao through music, one had to experience the 7 emotions and 6 desires of the human world. She was kind and easygoing, without any negative emotions. It was very difficult to achieve this. Because of this, her master had sealed her cultivation. Negative emotions were the key to breaking the seal. She went down the mountain to gain experience in order to stimulate the negative emotions in her heart. But because of her nature, the effect was not ideal. Even though she had suffered so much abuse and injustice in the restaurant, she was only a little angry and could not shake the seal at all. It was not until the moment when Qin Haodong's injury completely stimulated the negative emotions in her heart. She broke the seal in one fell swoop and reached the saint realm. However, she hid all of this in her heart and did not say it out loud. After a moment of silence, she said, "Brother, Sister Feng Wu and I will help you heal your injuries." Feng Wu said, "Your genuine qi is too strong. I'm afraid that Haodong can't bear it." Jia Shihan said, "Don't worry, sister. I can control my cultivation. Moreover, you have once injected genuine qi into me. We don't reject each other." Then she took Qin Haodong's hand and injected genuine qi into Qin Haodong's body through the Laogong acupoint. Sure enough, her genuine qi and Qin Haodong's genuine qi did not reject each other. Moreover, there was an inexplicable intimacy. Soon, they merged together and healed the injuries in his body. With Jia Shihan's help, the healing speed was much faster. After about 2 hours, he was almost healed. The rest could be slowly nurtured by himself. Qin Haodong stood up, stretched his muscles and said, "Thank you." Jia Shihan said, "Brother, I didn't protect you well. It's fine as long as you don't blame me." Qin Haodong was speechless. It was awkward for a delicate and lovely little girl to say such words to him. She changed the topic and said, "By the way, how are the 2 masters of the Hehuan sect and the old monster who plays the flute? Will they make a comeback?" This was indeed what he was most worried about. Not to mention others, even Xiao Luochen, who was good at controlling souls with demonic sounds, was not easy to deal with. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.